Good evening. I'm Jacqueline Sustaita, President of the Weslaco ISD Board of Trustees. This board workshop is being conducted in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. A recording of this meeting is being made and will be available to the public at a later date. The time is now 5:31 p.m. and I call this meeting to order. I'll now begin the roll call. Trustee Rodriguez, Trustee Cuellar,
Present.
Trustee Castillo,
Present.
Trustee Trevino,
Present.
Trustee Nieto, Trustee De Los Santos.
Present.
Let the record show that a quorum of members are in attendance. A quorum is not required for a board workshop. We'll move on to item number 2, public comments.
There are none.
There are none. Thank you so much. Item number 3, discussion on health insurance proposals. Dr. Rivera?
Let me call on Dr. Cantu, our consultant, to come forward. Mr. Gingrich.
Mr. Gingrich.
Madam President, Dr. Rivera, members of the board, we've been working with a consultant, One Digital, out of Houston, preparing for this workshop and analyzing the proposals that have been submitted. So I'm going to go ahead and hand over the presentation to Mr. Gingrich that we've been working very closely with for the last couple of weeks.
Thank you, Dr. Cantu. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Rivera. As Dr. Cantu had mentioned, I have been working with administration over the past couple of weeks, tabulating, analyzing, and here tonight to discuss the proposals that we received for medical administration services, pharmacy benefit management services, and the group dental insurance offered to employees.
What company do you work for, sir? I'm sorry, I didn't catch
The company is called One Digital.
One Digital?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We are a national consulting firm.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Grab it. Okay. There we go. Okay. So through this process, as mentioned, there was a recent request for proposals that were received by Weslaco ISD. Those proposals have been analyzed, tabulated, and ranked. And tonight, we're going to go through those proposals, the vendors that provided a proposal, walk through some of the pros and cons that we identified within these proposals, and then, of course, open it up to discussion and questions. So through this RFP, we did receive a total of 6 submissions, 4 completed submissions for group medical administration services.
Formatting got a little bit weird with that.
Okay, I got mine right here too as well. Okay, thank you. So the administrative services essentially are these carriers or insurance administrators are responsible for administering the claims for your employees and their dependents throughout the year. They're responsible for applying discounts to your claims as they're incurred at providers and hospitals, et cetera. And they are responsible for maintaining the network to make sure that access to care when employees are utilizing the insurance, they have access to physicians, et cetera. To receive these services, they do charge what's called an administration fee. From a financial perspective, those are the numbers that are in front of you today. Out of the 4 proposals, we have identified 3 top contenders from both a financial perspective as well as what it means for your employees.
How much was the 4th one?
The 4th one, and I do actually, if we want to hand out the full tabulation. This. So the 4th ranking from administration-wise was over 1.2 million. So it was the highest costing one. We did take into account a very holistic approach, looking at more than just the cost, because the million that we're seeing here for administrative expenses, the overall budget, this is just a portion of the total spend. And so I'll dive into that a little deeper here on what exactly was taken into account. So through this process, as mentioned, there's several things that we looked for. We did have some goals and objectives when analyzing these proposals. First and foremost is we wanted to ensure that the product or the health insurance plan that's offered to employees maintains the least level of disruption or change and maintaining the same level of benefit that is offered to employees. The plan here at Weslaco ISD is a very rich plan in benefit, meaning low copays, low deductibles, as well as low payroll deductions. So this was first and foremost the goal within the analyzation or analyzing these proposals and the tabulation. We did want to measure discounts. This is both a financial impact to the district budget as well as to your employees at the time of utilization. So this was taken into account and carefully analyzed. And last but not least, we wanted to evaluate the terms of the contract. And I apologize, I should have started with this. The medical plan is a self-insured medical plan. What that means from a financial perspective is claims and expenses back to the district do fluctuate on utilization month to month. And simply what that means is if employees are using the insurance. So that plays a major role when we're analyzing the value of the proposals, in particular discounts. Is something that we're taking a close consideration with.
Mr. Gingrich, what happened with option 5 and option 6? They just didn't submit a total package, or?
Yes, sir. So option 6, they misunderstood the services offered or advertised with the RFP. From my understanding, there will be an RFP later this year for these types of services, so I think that was a misunderstanding. Option 5 did not follow the request of the RFP, in particular maintaining the same level of network accessibility that the employees have, as well as the level of benefit, which was a part of the RFP. It's a very drastically different.
So it was different. It was a different network and different.
Yes, sir. It's essentially there was no network. It's a completely different model.
Reference-based pricing?
Reference-based pricing, yes, sir.
You don't like reference-based pricing?
I do. It's a good fit, but it has to make sense for the employer. There's a lot of legwork that goes into reference-based pricing.
So you didn't think that was a proper proposal, or did it fit here in Weslaco?
Not with the goals and objectives that we were looking for, and from what we were trying to accomplish as far as minimizing cost but maintain the same level of benefit. It would have been a pretty drastic difference.
Oh, so you didn't think it was the same benefit if we went that route? Because
No,
I've
sir.
seen, the
It
reason
did
I'm asking
definitely-
is because I've seen where it works and it lowers prices drastically. That's why I'm asking.
Right, correct. Yes, to answer your question is yes. It wasn't a fit, and so that was the reason behind the recommendation.
So it wouldn't be the same level of benefits that our employees are used to. I guess that's.
Correct. Yes, sir. Essentially, with this process, and there is protocols that would be in place to help mitigate that claims cost, but the model itself being completely different, as you mentioned, reference-based pricing, to where there is no network, and so there's a lot of negotiation that takes place, and so it's really essentially a different model with how the insurance is going to work at the time of utilization.
But is that the only reason? Because I don't think we should kick out a proposal just because it's a different model than what we're used to.
No, there would be some clarification that's going to be needed. There was some requests for additional information for it to really be a proposal that we can size up to what we received with the other carriers, being up there Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, and the Texas Associated School Board pool as well.
Could you explain what reference-based modeling is for everyone that's listening? And then can you also explain what type of infrastructure school districts have that follow that method?
Sure. So reference-based pricing, essentially the way it's going to work is at the time of utilization, when an employee uses the insurance, there isn't a pre-negotiated network, which is the current model that's in place with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So what will happen is the provider will bill back to the district was referred to as the master charge. And the master charge is a charge that's established by this entity, but there's no regulation of what this charge can look like. So we do see astronomical charges coming out of the gate, if you will, with this master charge. Reference-based pricing does provide in counter to that, a pricing at a percentage of Medicare. Medicare is obviously the Medicare program, but the governmental established rates for various health cares, all the way from your doctor's office to a hospital. So with this model, essentially every claim that is processed is going to have to be negotiated on the employee's behalf. So this can include everything from a routine doctor's visit all the way down to a hospital admission or stay. And so as far as maintaining the same level of member utilization and experience using the health insurance, it would drastically change that in the sense that every single transaction of the insurance is at the possibility of debate. And
Do we know how many of those deals are already negotiated, or we're just assuming that they're starting from zero?
we don't know how many. The assumption would be that they're starting from zero. And so the model it's been around for about 10 years, but it is receiving constant changing. And so what I mean by that is there's certain contracts that are here today, gone tomorrow in some situations.
That's the same with Blue Cross Blue Shield. with
It can be,
United,
yes, sir.
It's the same thing, but.
Right.
I don't know, to me, I just don't feel comfortable not being able to even see what that looks like, because I know that that is a model that's being looked at almost as innovative and trying to do some cost savings, not only to the employer, but also to the employee. And right now, the way you're presenting it to us, well, we can't even see what it looks like.
Correct, because what it would look like, it would have to be implemented first. So what it would look like for your employee, someone would have to go through that process. So as far as repricing it, we won't know those until the time of claim if it were to be implemented. And as far as what the pricing looks like, we can receive estimations, but without it implemented, we can't see what those look like. And at that point, after implementation, we would be locked in.
So
And
then the way you're explaining it, there's no way a reference-based pricing model will ever get recommended in a school district.
That's not the case. I mean, to maintain the same level of benefit and utilization, it's just a different model. It would be a very drastically different model to where if adopted, it would be a pretty in-depth process.
So it'd be like a work in progress. You'd take on a reference-based model method, and then you'd have to slowly work your way through iron out all the kinks as you go through your building your network and doctors that'll accept it, participate, your negotiation model too, who's gonna do it, how they're gonna do it. And then are you gonna sustain it for every following year?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay.
So but it's a great question. What would the financial impact be? To analyze that, we would have to have it implemented and see what the difference is.
So is there a world or a situation where we could have it as an option for folks who would choose to do that, and we could kind of see how that looks like? Maybe not your primary, but maybe just as an option.
There is some splits out there that can be ran. It would be a very unique provider that would do that. A national carrier such as Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, that wouldn't be an option to do that dual. You would have to look at more boutique administrator. So you would lose access to the national network that you currently have access to. On a reference-based pricing model, you will, your major healthcare systems, such as MD Anderson or St. Jude's or even Mayo Clinic, the very renowned medical.
But is that an accurate statement that we would lose access to it, or we don't know if a price could be negotiated?
We don't know if the price could be negotiated.
So that's kind of a different situation. It wouldn't be necessarily losing access to it, but it would be, if we went reference-based pricing, they would have to negotiate access to it.
I guess the possibility's on the table, is that what you're trying to say?
You're exactly right. Yes, to both those. It is an accusation, but it's also a liability, because if they do utilize it and someone does have a $300,000 bill from ND Anderson, we have nothing to fall back on other than the hopes of them taking a reference-based pricing payment. So that's some of the liability and why you are correct. There is people exploring this option, but it's just a different model. What we find in our experience, because we do work with reference-based pricing if it's the right fit, but your larger healthcare systems are going to be very difficult to accept these payments. And again, I think the real highlight is the liability, because even beyond if they do accept that payment, essentially because there isn't a negotiated contract that you're receiving through an administrator like Blue Cross or United Healthcare, they can still take that money and still balance bill for the remainder. So even if there is some form of acceptance of the cash, there's still no contracted safeguard to protect employees from
For the
balance
next
bill.
situation, that's what you mean, like for the next situation, okay, we negotiated employee A, but when employee B goes now, we have to start all over again with employee B's claim? Is that what you're kind of saying?
Every single claim
Would be,
could
really have to be
subject
negotiated.
that,
And
yeah.
when you said that they're negotiated, is there who specifically does that?
So that will be the administrator.
The administrator,
And
okay.
there's different programs that administrators use, and so you're really going to start piecemealing together different vendors that would do that. Currently, Blue Cross Blue Shield negotiates this on behalf of Weslaco and your employees. And so that's a designated contract that the provider is required to fall back onto those negotiated discounts and those rates, so it protects members. Yes, ma'am.
Question, the reference-based price, does this include the pharmacy benefits, or is it just the medical?
Just the medical.
Just medical?
Yes.
I don't think that's correct either. It does include pharmacy benefits.
It does, they negotiate claims, but as far as the medical, as far as the utilization of the plan, it would fall under the copays.
Yeah, because with the pharmacies, when you get a manager, they're the PBM is the one that's, you're kind of locking in rates already for a certain list of drugs, right? That's what you're kind of doing. So it's a locked-in price. And if you go through a reference-based pricing format for pharmacy, so you'd have to negotiate every drug that's prescribed, or how does that work with that?
There's going to be a lot of moving parts, but essentially, yes. There's going to be someone that's going to be looking at claims on an individual basis as they come through.
I don't know. I just don't want us to be afraid of innovation.
Right.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, but
Any other questions?
so what's the, I guess we stopped halfway. So these are the top three
Yes,
in the presentation
Yes, sir.
currently?
So maintain the same level of benefit, the same utilization that your employees are going to experience today. We did identify the top three, both from a financial and then what that looked like on the added value services and the holistic approach or analysis of the insurance and utilizing it on a daily basis. So reading left to right, Blue Cross Blue Shield, I've already ran through a lot of these responsibilities that Blue Cross Blue Shield performs for Weslaco ISD at administering the medical plan for you currently. It's right here. When we looked at this, we did take a look at discounting. And so on the subject of reference-based pricing, we are seeing a lot of your discounts that you're receiving from Blue Cross Blue Shield not very far off the mark of what Medicare is paying as well. So we take that into account when you look at just the day-to-day utilization, what it would look like when you already have a pre-negotiated discount versus having to renegotiate every single claim.
I had a question here in the presentation. You have, you got Blue Cross Blue Shield Network, you got, of course, United, and then you have another one that has Blue Cross Blue Shield Network. And then under that, it says no change, possible change, and utilizes BCBS. Can you kind of define that? Or where it says, you see where it says no change, possible change, and utilizes BCBS? What is?
Oh, I see. Okay, so the way we are reading this is the columns underneath Blue Cross Blue Shield, that is what is offered by Blue Cross Blue
Right.
Shield. And so between these three carriers, Blue Cross Blue Shield will be your current network, so there's no
Okay.
disruption there.
No disruption.
Providers that are utilized today, unless they can't come into agreement.
Okay, that's what
Yes, sir.
possible change with the United, there'll be a possible change in services, yeah.
Correct, yes,
yeah,
sir.
Okay. And then the other one, the third one is they utilize the same thing as Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Correct, yes, sir.
So, quick question. So we're live on YouTube, right? And there's people watching. And so one of the providers that submitted saying that the rate that you're presenting on their behalf is wrong.
These aren't the exact rates. They're generalized because that was submitted confidential, proprietary.
Okay, I mean, I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
Are the
Yes.
exact rates the one we have here in front of us?
Yes,
The
sir.
form that was given that says confidential?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir. So we'll definitely want to visit on,
This one is the exact numbers, right? Yeah,
correct, yes, sir.
okay.
Going back to the actual principle.
I also want to mention that the formatting on this slide, for some reason, got shifted.
That's how
So
it's
it is
gonna sit
shifted,
here.
but you all have
Yeah, that doesn't.
a hard copy, and that's
Right.
what we originally were thinking was going to be showing. So I'm going to ask Carlos if he can come up and try to fix why this happened, so we can get everything
I
on.
mean, I'll just, TASB's saying that their rate is $200,000 lower than what you're presenting, so.
No?
I mean, y'all could figure it out later, but
Okay, yes, no, thank you for,
Oh, yeah, but it is different on here. Yeah, it is lower
Ja-
here. The
well, but-
TASB's, yeah.
But it still doesn't match
so there,
up here.
yes, thank you for pointing that out. That can be off or the number of enrollments as well. Every carrier, meaning the number of employees on the plan, because that is broken down by per employee per month rate. If the enrollments are off, then you'll see that different rate there.
Well, okay, but this is accurate, right? These numbers are accurate, the one we're seeing here?
Yes, sir.
So, okay.
So what has taken place is there was a meeting with the committee to go through all these different options in more detail. What we're receiving from Blue Cross Blue Shield, if we were to look at a possible change, what would that look like at the member level when utilizing the insurance? And so there was a lot of great feedback and dialogue that we had with the committee on what's important to them within the insurance. And as we're looking at both financially and the least level of disruption, received against just some great feedback and dialogue as far as what was important to the employees and the members as we go through this analysis. We did receive a competitive proposal from United Healthcare, again, on the slide that's generalized of around $800,000. That was for them to administer the plan and to take into account all the services that we discussed that Blue Cross Blue Shield is offering. United Healthcare is a national carrier, so they are going to provide a national network across all state lines. And the last but not least, the plan that wasn't mentioned with Texas Association of School Boards, they are partnered with the Texas Municipality League, TML, to administer the medical claims or one of the many services that TASB and TML offers. There is going to need some further clarification from TASB and TML because TASB and TML does utilize the Blue Cross Blue Shield network. Okay. This is the current network that you're on with Blue Cross Blue Shield, obviously. And so this is something that we're going to have to provide clarification that is allowed for them to provide that proposal because you're currently with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So we do have representation to explore that further, but before we would want to finalize anything, make any kind of recommendation, we would want to make sure that that's fully addressed because historically there has been some contracts that prohibit that to bid on the current network since they do utilize it with Blue Cross.
And then if we could just get clarification on the price too.
Right.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do want to touch on discounts because we did analyze that, given to the best of the ability of the carriers to provide within their proposals. The network itself is receiving a very high in-network utilization. So as we talk about networks, what that means for your employees is they're staying within network. It's going to save them money. It is going to save the plan money, and there's less involvement as far as balance bills, things of that nature. So we did take a deep look into that network utilization, and we did measure that with United Healthcare. TASB program, Texas Association of School Boards, is going to fall under the same discounts because they are utilizing Blue Cross's Blue Shield's network. Any other questions? Okay. It is going to be our recommendation, and in addition to these clarifications, to enter into negotiations with Blue Cross Blue Shield to.
You just told us you were going to hold off on a recommendation.
Well, the final recommendation of award, but to move forward with negotiations with them.
After you find out about the numbers with
Correct. Yes, sir.
TASB, TML, right?
Yes, sir.
Because they're pretty much, you know.
Right.
yeah.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Okay. If there's no further questions, I will transition to the second proposals that we received for pharmacy benefit management services.
Before we move forward, do we have any representatives here from Blue Cross Blue Shield or TASB that could provide more insight?
Yes, sir, we do. Dr. Rivera, if we want to bring them up.
Sure. We can, it's a workshop, correct?
Yeah, but he's recognized by board president. yeah.
Yes, it was in the request sent in.
Before you switch to the PowerPoint, sir, can you let Adrian address this real quick?
Oh.
Do we go back to the first slide? The third-party administrator?
And/or United as well. I mean, they have the lowest price, but
Yep.
That looks a lot better.
Good evening, President, Dr. Rivera, School Board Trustees. I am a representative for TASB TML. I am the VP of Operations for our department. One of the questions that he mentioned, our rates don't look correct if it's combined with the PBM. You know, we're at about $1,025,000, so about $200,000 less. In regards
hold
to
on, what was that
on
again?
our rates up here, he said it was only the medical. Our medical rates combined about are $1,025,000.
$1,025,000?
So it's not 1.2?
It's not 1.2.
One,
Based on our underwriter, on what I received right now, is at 1.02. And then in regards to changing, we've had other districts where they did leave Blue Cross to go with TML because of the lower fees and administrative fees.
Was there any issues with the Blue Cross, the same network?
No, there's very minimal disruption. We created this plan to, we created this plan for districts that were leaving TRS, so we wanted those districts to have minimal disruption. So it'd be minimal disruption here for Weslaco ISD.
But you said that the administrative fees were lower?
Our administrative tend to be lower because when we look at a district or an account, such as you all's, you guys are about a little under 3,000. We look at it as our pool of about 37,000. So our fees tend to be a little bit lower. So seeing this, I was wondering if it was including the pharmacy benefit fees.
It is not.
No, it's not on yours.
So, yeah. So
But
then
the
it's
thing is,
our-
you're saying your administrative fees are lower though, right? That's the statement you're making?
Overall, what we calculated based on our underwriting, which I just verified right now, we're at $1,025,000.
because that number you're
$1,025,000.
telling me is different from the number I have on this
That was
confidential
what
paper
I was
also.
concerned about, so I was kind of curious if it included the pharmacy benefit. But based on ours, we're at $1,025,000.
So that's
Were
not
those
new.
numbers presented to you guys, Dr. Cantu? Or why were these numbers why are these numbers being presented to us if they're inaccurate?
So what we had done is we grabbed every single proposal. We gave a copy to our consultants so that they could prepare the document that you have in front of you. And so if there is something that we need to get clarified, we will then reach out to those, the top three, but that's the hope, to talk to the top three to get their best and final offer in that particular negotiation. So one thing that we could do is have our consultant, which he has been reaching out to each of the firms or each of the insurance policies to, in a sense, we'll clarify piece. Luckily for us, it's only two numbers that is showing for their particular plan. So we just need to confirm that are those the rates that is being offered to Weslaco ISD. And so one thing I could do real quick.
Is that common practice? Because there's a set of numbers here already that's obviously it's confidential. They don't have you guys aren't exposed. You guys don't have that information. So we have that information,
Yeah.
but
We are relying on our interpretation of their plan. So right now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just go check their plan and just make sure that those two numbers match up again. Because really, that's the only pieces that they charge. So we could check that real fast.
okay.
Okay.
And so,
Okay.
yeah.
And if I could add on, and please do correct me, when it comes down to these numbers, the way the plan is currently set up is you have Blue Cross administering the pharmacy, or the medical. You have Araya administering the pharmacy. And then you have, the dental insurance. You have two separate entities. Blue Cross is not currently handling the pharmacy benefit management program. So when we tabulate these and analyze it, it's important to look at every component independently. And so if that number is lower, because that included pharmacy, for us to do every carrier could essentially do that. And so that, what we wanted to do is to look at every option very independently, to analyze, okay, purely medical administration as advertised by the RFP, what is that cost? No other contingencies based on that cost. And so that was
I need
what was
clarification, because
tabulated.
that's not what I understood. That million, did that include the PBM or did not include the PBM?
No.
And is that contingent on TML getting the PBM?
No.
Okay.
Our PBM is separate, and then we also have additional
Okay.
programs that we're not.
PBM as a pharmacy?
Yeah,
But that's something different. That's next page.
Just the next slide.
Ma'am, is she with you? Or-
I'm,
No? Oh,
I'm,
United?
United?
no, I'm with Blue Cross.
Oh, there you go.
I'm the current Blue Cross and Blue Shield representative that it's, it's here to assist and help your employees and, the school district. And, our rates are there, our discounts had proven. And that's, if you have any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer.
Are the rates on here correct
Yes,
for
ma'am.
you? Okay.
Yes, ma'am, and it is, your consultant did reach out to confirm those were the rates and they were in there. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So, I guess, my question to the consultant is, we're looking at Blue Cross Blue Shield, right? Now we're talking TML/TASB. What is the difference between the two entities if it's the same service? Like, if our employees have the same network and the same doctor, same hospital, same everything, then their network. Other than price, is there anything you were missing, or it's just everything's the same?
There's going to be differences between the two. As Tasby mentioned, there is different programs that they're going to implement, and so is Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Different what?
Different programs throughout the year that, case management down to some different pharmacy programs. So for that we'd have to look hindsight to see if there is savings. When it comes down to your comment on the network and disruption, or just the network itself, you're receiving the same doctors, the same discounts, keeping it all carved in with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and with it, and we're verifying the rate. There was the least amount of disruption would take place by keeping it with Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Okay.
Here's my thing with,
She was gonna say, go ahead.
here's my thing with this is, I know that a decision is being made, or a recommendation is being made by you guys, but I would like a thorough presentation of what Blue Cross is offering, what TML is offering, what United Care is offering, because here, all we see is just numbers, and unfortunately, they're not even accurate, I believe.
Well, they're stating,
We are verifying that right now.
Okay.
The first number does check it out. So,
The administration fee number, or,
yes, sir.
okay.
ma'am?
I hope I can answer your question, and I'm going to repeat, hopefully I get it. And you said that if nothing is going to change, if you were to change to TML.
Well, yeah, what
What
I'm
was
saying
your
is right
question?
now, I guess what I'm hearing from people commenting is we're real focused on price, but and of course we are, right, because taxpayers, but I'm also focused
Absolutely.
on a quality product and service for our staff because it's their health.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to make sure that we don't get lost in numbers and for 20 or 30 or 50,000, but yet we miss something and then our staff is now not getting the quality care that they should be. And that's all I'm worried about. I'm more worried about the product and services first and then prices second. and when it comes down to their medical health care.
Okay, and I'm going to answer to the best. TML, TASB, they are utilizing our network, and that's it. The benefits, they're not, they have another carrier that those claims, if you were to change, those, it's another carrier. I don't know who will be managing, who will be administering your benefits, okay? So there will be no, I'm local, whatever they need, reports, all that, I will be here. I'm here, and I provide all that information, so I will no longer be able to service you, to service the employees, nor Weslaco ISD, okay? The other will be that, programs, case management, you have to review. Your employees will not have access to the Blue Access for members. Your employer will not have access to Blue Access for employers, which that's where they get the billing, the claims, the weekly, so they can be able to do that. They won't have access to the reporting, which is the Blue Insight. So there will be differences on that, and I think that's something that you wanted to know.
Okay.
And I just wanted to clarify that. And on the numbers, if I may, a lot of times, the fees are the same. It all depends on the number of employees that you're utilizing to figure out the rates. Just say, okay?
Okay, so there's, those other services.
Yeah, it is, the fees are, could be correct, but you see which number of employees are we using across to figure out the annual premium. I just wanted to mention that.
Okay. I don't know, TASB, TML, what, would you like to comment on? I know you missed some of it because you were talking numbers, but they were talking about access, Blue Access, softwares and logins,
Exactly what
companies.
she said. Our network is done through Blue Cross Blue Shield. Who administers it? TML manages that.
TML.
Our home office, yes. I am also a local rep, so we.
TML is
go-
what does TML stand for?
Texas Municipal League.
Texas.
Texas what?
Municipal League.
Oh.
So TML is a TASB of cities and counties. So we have a similar mission, so that's why we partner with TML to provide this plan.
Okay.
But yeah, some of our other programs are similar to what Blue Cross has, but we just have some additional surgery programs that we do. So we have a network of hospitals, urgent centers, where if your employees were to go there, then there's bigger discounts that they can get because they're staying within our network. Almost kind of like a reference-based plan that we're implementing in our program.
Did we figure out the numbers to see? if
The numbers are
correct?
right, but I was just, maybe the census was incorrect, but those numbers, based on the PPM, the ASO fee and the broker fee, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
And I just want to reiterate that because really we used the current census. They did turn in a certain number for census, but what's important is what is that multiplier? What's that
Right.
cost per employee per month, right?
Right.
So all the way across, and you can see this on your form, you do see that it's all the way across, everyone's fair, and we did verify that that multiplier
Per
adds
employee.
up.
It's
So no,
exactly-
the numbers are not wrong. That's exactly what we have. There were some estimates on the slide, but you also notice that that's pretty close to what we have
Yeah,
as far
just
as.
didn't want to be accurate, I understand.
Yeah, we-
Because it's public.
It's public, and we really want to respect the confidentiality of the matter, but
Right, of the
it's
company,
still
yes.
the general idea, and you can see that it matches pretty darn close to what's actually on here.
And we also don't want a vendor thinking that their numbers were presented wrong.
Right.
Correct. So we were happy to clarify that and make sure that, and you heard it from the local rep, that, the numbers are correct. They're not incorrect.
Thank y'all
Thank you.
for confirming that. So
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next.
And thank you all for pointing that out, because we obviously we want to make sure it is accurate. And the reason we do look at it on a per employee per month is because it gets everything apples to apples as applicable. So the multiplier factor, although that might change, we do want to show an aggregate amount, an annual amount, because that is important to get an understanding of what the annual cost is, but to ensure that every vendor is being measured accurately side by side, we break it down to that per employee per month.
what's wrong with United Healthcare?
No, it's nothing's wrong with them. Great carrier, just as Blue Cross, just as TML. The reason for the recommendation to enter into negotiations with Blue Cross Blue Shield with some of the other factors that we took into place. Continuation of care, continuity of care. The change in possible networks, both positive and negative. There's going to be a different network, and so there's going to be different providers in both of these networks. So when looking at the holistic overall package that's being offered to employees and receiving the feedback from the committee, Blue Cross Blue Shield provide a very competitive proposal, almost pennies to where you're currently at. So we're receiving no disruption on a financial impact. From a member level for your employees utilizing the plan, we're not expecting any disruption on that front. So those are some of the factors that we're taking into place.
What was, it's real important to know where our staff stands. What did the committee's, is the committee's response in line to the recommendation?
Yes.
Or?
So pretty much today's employee committee, and we do have some members present. I did invite the entire committee. A lot of them had other responsibilities and they couldn't make it, but pretty much it was unanimous. And it's not a committee of 3 or 4 people. We had major representation from every campus, major departments. So we had 30 people. We prepared for 35, and we had about 30 people show up. So it's very important to our employees. And we take pride in Weslaco that we have the best experienced teachers. We have the best of the best. We also, want to provide the best benefits possible. So we do want to take that committee's recommendation into account, and it was pretty much unanimous.
That's outstanding.
Every
The
single one
size
of
of the committee, it's outstanding.
And it was a very thorough committee. So
How big was the committee?
34, 35, every campus, so that's already 19, plus departments.
Okay.
And then we had representation from central office as well, but everybody had, 1 vote, and I did collect the consensus, and everybody, pretty much the entire committee, wanted to continue with that Blue Cross Blue Shield.
So right now, somebody mentioned, it might have been you, Mr. Robledo, you guys were going to go for best and final offer. Are you going to call every single of these top 3, or just Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Does that work with these, though?
It will work with that. Final negotiations, we're going to ask for reduced costs. As mentioned earlier, you have what is referred to in the industry as carved out PBM, carved out stop loss insurance, which is financial protection behind the scenes. With those, there's fees that we plan to negotiate with all the different carriers. So that was our narrative, is that we wanted to express is to see what we can get one last.
So we'll get a best and final offer
Best and
from the
final.
top 3?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so you're not going to just negotiate with Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Correct, yes, sir. No, not. Correct what you said, yes, sir, thank you.
Sounds good. Yeah, that would make me feel comfortable. We're still dealing with all 3 carriers until the final numbers that we get.
Correct, yes, sir, and that's why, as this process has moved on, we'll see from the proposals, there's a lot of data that goes into the analysis and making sure when we do get down to those top 3, we can
And I had
continue
heard that there was
negotiations.
going to be, I guess what they call BFOs, best final offer. So I said, that's really great, and we should do that with everything that we do.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
That's just the way the business world works at the end of the day.
Absolutely,
So-
yes, sir. Any other questions, or is there any other feedback?
No,
Not on this slide.
no, excellent in the committees and everything. Yeah, you all did great.
Okay. I will move forward with the pharmacy benefit manager services.
You have Mr. President?
Thank you, sir.
As Dr. Cantu passes those out, just very similar to the medical, there was requests, proposals received for the pharmacy benefit management services. The current provider is a company called Araya. They currently are responsible for administering, processing, discounting, verifying, thank you, Dr. Cantu, eligibility for your members when they utilize the insurance to fill their prescriptions. With this RFP, formal request for proposals, we did receive 7 proposals, and within those proposals, we even received multiple different options in what is called the formulary or the drug list within these proposals. So in front of you, that Dr. Cantu just passed out, is a breakdown of these proposals that we received. We did receive 2 different options of a formulary between your current PBM, AREA, both the Advantage and the Preferred. We did receive a proposal from your medical administrator, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and then you'll see there, reading left to right within the packet, the additional proposals that we received, including United Healthcare and TASB. We did receive some standalone pharmacy programs listed there, options 6, 7, 8, and 9. The pharmacy world is a very tricky world. You can turn on the nightly news and see that. So there's a lot of different components that are taken into consideration when doing an analysis. The way the pharmacy benefit manager adjudicate claims, meaning processing them, there's 2 components of costs that are back to the district. The one is the actual cost of the drugs, which is going to be what's called the average wholesale price discount, AWP. Average wholesale price discount is negotiated by your pharmacy benefit manager with the drug manufacturers, the actual manufacturers making the medications. Your PBM negotiates these on behalf of their clients, in this situation on behalf of Weslaco ISD, to get the lowest discounts both for the district and for your employees at the time of utilization. There is, in some of these proposals, what is referred to as an administration fee. That can be broken down to at either a per script fee or per employee per month fee, similar to what we saw on the medical proposals.
Is that required? Do we have to have an 8, or what, the service fee?
It's a great question. It's a business model to how some of these PBMs decide to do it, decide not to do it.
Who gets it?
The PBM, per the contract, the PBM, this is a service fee similar to the medical administration. For them to administer these claims, receive it from the pharmacy, this is what they're charging.
Okay, because I've seen in other plans too that there's a service fee to a local agent, for example. Is that built into this?
From the contract, and our pharmacy team did review it, it's not listed within the contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try
Per
to
the
keep it like
contract.
that.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Let's try to keep it like that.
Yes.
I think, yeah, that's the way the proposals are sent out, yeah. Or those-
Exactly, yes, sir. From our, and our legal staff and our pharmacists, we have actual pharmacists, multiple on staff. When they're reviewing that, the way the contract reads, we understand that a fee is paid to the pharmacy benefit manager to adjudicate claims.
Okay.
I've had a,
Oh, go ahead.
okay. I've had an issue for the last 2 years with the pharmacy benefit manager that we've currently had. And my issue is that I know that before, when we first started comparing, there's a PBM that gave you like a guaranteed, mainly I'm just gonna cut to the chase, the rebates. We were told that we were looking at approximate rebates of about 1.4 million for year 1, 1.6 million year 2, et cetera. And the rebates that were coming in were like at 700, no, close to 800,000, and then projected this year so far about 800,000. So my issue is, okay, where's the money? I mean, how is it, are we still increasing on what we're expending on pharmacy costs, but yet the supposed rebates that we were told by the administration at the beginning of the year that we were going to see are nowhere near close. Last year, we were told almost 1.6 million. I think we came in a little bit above 800,000. That's 50%. So that means that the administration was way off on whatever the PBM was telling them. So I just want to know, did you analyze the performance of the previous years, and where are we? Is it working out for the district, or is it not?
Yes, sir. Great question. And let me start with the rebate itself. And so, as you mentioned, the district is currently what's called a pass-through model, which is very common. And it receives a quarterly check from the PBM that is paid back to the district to help the bottom line. The alternative to a rebate model is when the PBM is within the insurance carrier, being the medical administrator, they can offer what's called an administrative credit.
Right.
Administrative credit is a per employee per month credit. It's guaranteed in the sense that it doesn't fluctuate other than enrollment. So if we have 2,000 employees today and 2001 next month, there's going to be that difference in enrollment. But other than that, that guaranteed rebate credit that we're receiving per employee per month is guaranteed on that front. On the pass-through model, you can also have guarantees. We did look at this within the proposal, and this is something we're always going to first and foremost recommend be entered into a contract. So with a pass-through model, you can still have these guarantees, but the caveat is the guarantees are based on utilization. So when it's a pass-through model, every time a brand name medication or a rebatable drug medication is filled, the district's eligible for that rebate. When it comes down to utilization, that is dependent on your employees and their physician and what they're prescribed. And so there is no control anyone has over that. That's what is taking place at the doctor's office receiving that prescription.
But we could say we're going to cover something like a generic drug more than a brand name, right?
Correct, yes, sir. And we did look at the utilization. You're currently about 80% generic utilization, which, from a financial perspective, is a good thing.
Yeah.
You want that. Brand name drugs, it's the nature of the industry and these manufacturers. But when we look at, from a cost perspective, we don't want to be filling brand name drugs. We do want your employees to fill them if that's the medication that they need.
Yeah,
but
like if the
there's an
patent's not available or whatever, if it's
Exactly, yes,
absolutely
sir.
necessary.
If there's an alternative, generic alternative that clinically treats the condition, we always recommend that because it's going to save the employees money, it's going to save the district money.
And it's the same thing.
Essentially the same thing, yes, sir.
Same formula.
There is certain situations, and there's some very miracle drugs, as you'd call them, that are out there that are curing things such as Hep C, cancer. There's a lot of research and development that these manufacturers are putting forth, but especially for maintenance routine medications, we always encourage generic because ultimately that's going to save employees money and the district money. So following that full circle back to the rebate question, we analyze the rebates, the guarantees. What's ever important when it comes down to those guarantees, whether it be a rebate pass-through, which you're currently on, or if it's a credit, is that it is audited quarterly. And so you analyze that. You look at it, and this information is highly confidential and really kept between the PBM and the manufacturers. And so within an audit, if we come back and say you guaranteed this with your proposal, it's not matching up, similar, when we're looking at these proposals, explain why. We'll never see what the rebate amount is for a specific drug, the commercial that you see online, but we'll at least be able to get that clarification as why those rebates didn't match up. When it comes down to some of the forecasting, there always can be some fluctuation there. Again, a lot of times falling back on the utilization.
And see, my thing was this, is that we had when we first moved into Orion and got away from Prime, Prime had a guaranteed rebate, or credit, I'm sorry, I'm gonna use the word, had a guaranteed credit, and that was about almost $1.5 million. And then we moved into this new PBM, and then we see a return of almost $800,000. When we were told that what sold the board was the fact they said, well, this is a credit of 1.4, and we're gonna see up to 1.6 million in cash coming back to the district. And everyone's drug list, et cetera, everything's gonna be the same. It's perfect and it's beautiful and everybody's gonna love it. And we're gonna see all this cash come into our coffers. And then yet, we were way off in year one. And then we went ahead and for whatever reason, well, year two, let's try it again and see if it works out. Year two didn't work out either. Again, told projections of $1.something million, still coming in well below $1 million. So my question, that's why I'm concerned is, and I asked the administrator at the time, I said, have you audited it? Because he also said that it was a transparent contract, that we would have access and be able to audit, et cetera. But I guess they said that their duties were overwhelmed, and they didn't audit it. And we'd have to look into services or companies to do so. So my worry is I just don't want, and then the reason I'm having this red flag is because the district recently got out of litigation from before my time, before I was here on the board, with another company. I'm not going to go into details, say names, but there was found out that, hey, money was going to be returned to the district. So now I'm thinking, okay, I'm being told 1.6, we're seeing 700 and change. We're seeing in year one, 800,000, year two, year three doesn't look any better. Is there something we need to look at here? Or why do we tell one thing at the beginning to vote on it, and then at the end of the day, we're seeing a final outcome that isn't anywhere near close?
Correct, yes, sir. I think a lot of that will fall back to the utilization. We want to be very transparent in what we present. And with that, this is some projections, but it is going to be dependent on utilization. And again, that is outside of everyone's control. You do make the great point, and it is a more, I would say, a sound business strategy to take the credit, because that is guaranteed, give or take, your enrollment amount in the medical plan. I've worked with districts to where having that level of comfort of that guaranteed per employee per month made the most sense financially as we were working through budgets, and so that was the recommendation. The pass-through model is very common. Both models are very common. It really does kind of come down to the cash flow issue, and then, of course, the auditing is a very important component of it to make sure on a quarterly basis you promise this XYZ amount of rebates. Although we might not see what exact medications you're getting that rebate for, we can see collectively what we should have got, audit it, and then come true to what it should be. So getting ahead of myself a little bit, but that is one of our recommendations on the best and final, is to continue that negotiation with Prime Therapeutics, which is owned by Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Do we have any representatives from any of the PBMs or anyone out there?
Tita with Blue Cross Blue Shield.
One, two? Oh, okay.
So option 3 here is Prime then?
Excuse me?
That's
Option
the
three?
district recommendation? That's what you're saying? District, he's
Option
asking.
3,
To continue negotiations with Prime and Arroya,
okay.
which is the current PBM.
I have.
But I don't see Prime listed here, that's right.
It's Blue Cross Blue
It
Shield.
is Blue Cross, okay.
That's what I was going to clarify. This is Tita. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas is Prime.
Okay.
Prime is the, Blue Cross is the medical
To continue
hospital
negotiating.
labs, and Prime is the prescription drug.
Okay.
Zach, quick question, Zach. Is there an advantage to have a different PBM than who your TPA is?
Yes and no. The advantages are when you do look at a separate TPA or separate PBM, excuse me. Sometimes there is flexibility. There's certain programs that are implemented that typically that you wouldn't receive. I'm not going to say you can't receive those from a larger carrier. So that is some of the level of just that flexibility, but it is kind of a business model. In return, the larger PBMs like Express Scripts, like Optum, like Prime, there's buying power that they have. These are large PBMs with a high volume of membership. With that PBM, that volume is leveraged to negotiate discounts, to negotiate rebates. So there's a little give and take. When it comes down to things such as rebates, there's a lot of unknowns in that world. So sometimes the credit is what is the most comfortable option because you're guaranteeing what you're going to get. There is a level of a gamble, and there is some hybrid models that are being proposed out there as well that do give a credit and a pass-through model, which United Healthcare has as well, which we do have some representation here as well with them. I'm sorry to see you, Daryl.
I've been listening to the conversation. My apologies how I'm dressed. I only was
No
invited
worries.
here at 1 o'clock, so I came right from Houston. You did make a statement that you're not getting the rebates that were projected to you. In my opinion,
Well, I was
that's
asking why the number was different, yes.
because it's a projection and not a guarantee.
Right.
Right, that's the difference. The model that we put forth is we put a minimum rebate guarantee on the table. So whatever we say we're going to give you minimally is guaranteed, but you will get more if they come. And we split it in terms of a credit and a return. So our approach is we can use some of your rebates to give you as a credit to reduce your medical expenses with us, right? That is subtracted from the rebates.
And
that
you're with Araya.
I'm with United Health.
United Healthcare.
We're not even up there, but, you
So
know.
Araya is United Healthcare?
No.
No.
We're Optum.
Oh, okay, you're a different one.
We're
Okay.
Optum. We own Optum.
Oh, okay,
and we
okay, okay.
provided.
They're
both
Optum.
for
They're
the-
on our page here.
Oh,
They're on our
okay.
Yeah, we
paper.
quoted medical
Not
and the
up
Oh,
pharmacy.
no, I was talking about
separately.
Araya, I'm sorry. Did I say
Yeah.
United Healthcare?
Yes.
Oh, no. Did I say
You need to
United?
be
No,
careful.
no,
No, I said
United.
Araya, okay.
You need to be careful when you use the term projection and
Right.
guarantee.
Yeah, and that
Right.
was my thing though, because with us, we're a school board, right? And we have to vote.
It's
and the-
taxpayer money.
No, but I'm trying to say, sir, is that the administration is telling us, go with this company because we're projected to make more. That was the whole sell. You shouldn't say that if it's not a guarantee, because you just say, look, we're hoping, but it may be way less. 800, if you tell me you're projecting 1.6 million, you come in at 8,
We
we are
provide
gonna have a meeting.
minimum-
I mean, you're gonna be way off.
Our approach is to
So
provide a
50%
minimum.
is ridiculous. But if you come up and say, it's just depending on use, depending on rebates, like you're saying United, right? You weren't the company I was talking about, but, yeah, I mean, I understand projections and estimates, et cetera, and you have credits and rebates and
minimum.
whatnot.
That's why our approach is a
But we
minimum
were
rebate
sold on
guarantee.
that, the $1.6 million figure, and that's what kind of swayed the board when it came down to discussion, and
You know, my
I
thought is
don't
learn
think that's good
from that.
business.
Yeah, learn
Yeah.
from that. We do a minimum rebate guarantee, so we
good.
tell you
I
what
like
you
that.
will
Yeah.
get
That's
and
good.
more. And maybe,
and possibly you might be surprised and get some more money later on down the line.
most
That's
of
what
our
you're
groups
saying.
do. Yeah, we guarantee it based on about 90% of our projections.
Well, that's good,
You know, but there's some unknowns in there, which is why we do it that way.
okay.
But yeah, there's a big difference between a projection and a guarantee, and we
Right.
learn from that, right?
And with that, again, when we analyze your current contract, as this progresses, the proposals we did receive from your current PBM, they did provide those guarantees. So our legal team and our pharmacy team will make sure that that guarantee language is incorporated within that contract so that we can hold them liable when we do audits, that if there is a shortcoming, at least an explanation as to why.
Hey, Zach, can you clarify some of these numbers that we have in front of us? Because they all look very, very similar, except for the administrative fee, you know, the
Yes,
6,
sir.
6, 3, and then 1, 3, 6. Those administrative fees could really add up. I
They
mean, say
could,
you're-
yes, sir.
You're doing 70,000 scripts a year, that's a lot of money.
And so part of our final negotiations is negotiating that fee. You know, we're just a couple weeks in with the district, and that was one of the first things that our team identified was that fee. And so that, a part of our negotiations, we are going to look at bringing that down.
And it has no, that money's not going towards anything regarding the employee, so you know what I mean? It's-
Correct. It's
Can you-
administrative.
Can you describe the difference between per claim and per employee?
Yes, sir. So a per claim is every time an employee fills a medication, they're charging that fee. So if I were to go swing by HEB on the way home, that's a per claim.
Right.
Per employee is going to be pulled on a monthly basis. Your enrollment in the pharmacy plan, they're going to give us that charge. And so as we look at some of these, for example, we'll see one, option 3 is at $3.24 per employee per month. So essentially, that's going to be somewhat of a fixed fee dependent on enrollment. So that's going to be the difference between the two. Yes, sir.
Six seems a little high per claim.
It is, and so that's the advantages of going through this process is we get everything side by side, and to exactly your point, we do see some things that look a little out of not par, if you will.
But then the
which is-
$1 per claim looks really good.
Exactly.
Well, yes, I saw it too. And see, that was my argument when we first came up with this, again, and I hate, keep beating that drum, but it was $6, and I told people, we're not looking at numbers here. We had administration here, we had a committee from administration here. And I was trying to discuss the number breakdown. And at the end of the day, it didn't go far, but. Yes.
You will receive 11 scripts per employee per year.
Right,
And that's the default that we use.
right, for that.
And again, when it comes to rebates, this is brand name medication. So 80% of your pharmacy utilization isn't even falling to that within that rebate eligibility bucket.
So the negotiations would be with only the 3 companies here that are in the red?
And then including United Healthcare.
Yeah, option 4, let's add that one.
Yes, let's add that one, that's why.
Yes, sir. So the main negotiation, we are going to really address the fees.
But real quick,
yes,
Zach,
sir.
I'm sorry, that just kind of caught my eye, but on option 3, there's a number under administration credit that nobody else has.
Yeah.
And
Thank
it's
you,
a big number. What is that?
So that's the administration credit of that fixed per employee per month.
They give it to you up front.
So
Guaranteed
that,
minimum.
It's guaranteed. Right.
correct. And that is an estimation on enrollment. So, with school districts, as you know, enrollment's relatively stable, as opposed to some, an oil and gas company, for example. But what that is a projected, if enrollment were to stay at your current enrollment of 2,144, that's what our projected annual credit or value of that credit we
Well,
would
it's projected,
receive.
not guaranteed.
It is projected,
Oh,
yes, sir. But it's only fluctuant on your enrollment
Enrollment.
amount. Correct.
No.
Yes and no. But yours,
There's actually, there's no number on his quote.
He said they had a minimum guarantee?
correct, yes.
Okay.
Yours is blank, sir. Are we missing numbers for credits for the other, the ones that are not part of the
How,
options
how
you
many
gave
give,
us?
how many give that, you know?
So
Not
in order-
projections, but
So
the
there's,
minimum.
there's credits that are offered. Those are typically one-time credits. So I don't want to confuse those. And the way that we look at this is we want to make sure we're getting everything side by side, because one carrier might come in with $200,000 and that a credit that's this year, but that's not going to be next year. We want to make sure that we're looking at everything as
long are
apples
these
to apples
contracts
as possible.
I had $83,000 a year in credits for medical, which bumped to $133,000 a year for medical and pharmacy. So medical and pharmacy would give you $400,000.
Correct. And we do have the rebates that were in there as well. So that should all, would all add up to
Okay.
that amount.
And if it's blank, it's because
It's
it's just depending. I mean, that's that's what I was discussing earlier, where it just depends on what they collect and what they actually give us back.
Correct, yes, sir. And we'll be sure to show that credit side by side.
Yeah, just so we can see apples to apples. I mean, I mean, I guess that kind of answers your question as to why we're asking so many questions, right? Because it's just, and this is every district that
Right.
I get to see all these presentations. I think you used to work for Carlisle, right?
Yes.
Yes, I've seen you before. They're always like this, and nobody knows what the heck's going on.
Yeah, and that was my thing, like, and I asked a lot of questions at the beginning, and I really went through it, and that's why I kind of looked at the guarantee, but how do I put it? And I don't want to come off wrong, but if you tell me, if someone's gonna go collect for me, and they tell me I'm gonna bring about this much, okay. You know, you say 1.6, you come in at 1.4, I understand, something happened here and there, whatever. But you come in at 50%, we got a big problem. I mean,
Right.
because you're way off. Somebody was way off. And that's why I just wanted to know. And I don't want to eliminate a RI out, or that company out, but I do want to know, did we get back what we're supposed to get back? And if not, how do we find out? What steps do we take to find out if there is funds still on the table, how we can get them?
Right, exactly. Yes,
So
sir.
is the option 1, option 2, option 3, I mean, is that just who you guys want to go with best and final offer? Or can you go up to option 5 or option 6?
Well, you said 4, I think, right? You're going to include 4?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, can you include option 5 too then?
Yes, sir.
Option 5.
Option 5?
Looking at the numbers, I wish, if it's blank, does that mean there is no administration credit, or did we just not put the numbers on there?
Well, they're here, aren't they?
No, not
That's-
for, I know,
On the PBMs here? They're blank, there's nothing on
United
there.
Care listed, had one, but it's not listed on here, but you said one right now.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's what I'm asking,
That's
so-
that's the one.
That-
Because the other ones, because they're a separate PBM, they can't offer that administrative credit, because it's a separate entity.
They're not offering the health, yeah.
The health, and United Healthcare's instance, because they can both administer a health plan and a pharmacy plan through their own pharmacy manager, Optum, they can also offer credit, just like Prime can with Blue Cross Blue Shield, same company.
Yeah, my pharmacy credit is $50,000 per year, but that only applies if you went in the pharmacy
And the medical.
You can't do the pharmacy.
Okay, yeah, it's all
Oh, okay.
combined.
That's why it's
It
blank.
all has to be combined.
It has to be, it's contingent on,
So this number 5, TASB that they want to add, TASB TML, do they have a guarantee, or do they have any of those type of guarantees from credits or anything like that?
Don't have it in front of me.
Or the
They
approximate-
are using a separate PBM as well.
Okay.
Outside of the pool, the medical is going to be administered by Texas Municipality League, the TML, and there's they have a separate pharmacy benefit manager that handles it, similar to the structure that you're on currently with
Okay.
the RIA.
And you're right, I'm gonna go back to this, purchasing power, okay? So you're looking at companies, and that's just the way the world works. Depending on how big you are, it means that, you know, I mean, your credit depends on how much volume you move every single month, you know? So who are the largest players on this list? You don't have to, you're gonna have to say the names out loud, but you can tell me option 2, 3, 4, because nobody else has seen this but us, but.
Sure.
You're the consultant, so who are the big ones? Because I know I've read up a little bit last time when we were going through all this with our first decisions, and it says that there is only so many companies out there that are PBMs that have a lion's share of the prescription business. So, and I know one of them is on there already. So how many, when I say a handful, I'm talking nationwide. There's only a handful that control about a huge percentage of the market of a prescription, then everybody else splits up the little bit that's left.
Yes, sir.
So who are the ones that have the lion's share on these options?
It'll be option 3 and 4 are going to
Okay.
be the PBMs with
3
a
and 4.
strong national presence. Yes, sir.
3 and
Right.
4.
So why are we messing with option 1 and 2?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that was my argument in the very beginning.
Because they are the current, and this is something that we address with the committee, because with any switch, again, there is change, positive and negative, but that is still something we take into account. And so that's why, as the incumbent, we did include them.
But they have 2 spots.
Excuse me?
They have 2 spots.
So they have 2 options.
They have 2 options, and that's
For
2
medical-
different formularies. And so what a formulary is a drug list medications. And so.
Good, medium, a high, medium, low.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes,
what
sir.
is that difference? I know there's a price difference, but advantage and preferred, what's the difference if it's Araya?
The drug list.
The drug list.
Okay.
So when we're looking at these, the option 1 is Advantage. And what this is going to be a higher managed drug list, meaning this PBM is going to try and direct employees to medications that they have deeper discounts and larger rebates with. Other medications in certain situations could possibly be excluded. They're still going to have a drug that can clinically treat any kind of medical condition. They're just steering them to a preferred discount and preferred rebate amount. You'll look at option 2, which is actually the current formulary, which is preferred. It's going to be a little broader. And with that, there's going to be more medications that possibly don't have as deep as discounts or as large as rebates. But employees are going to, there's just going to be more drugs on the list, essentially. With option 3 and 4, both of these PBMs have multiple different formularies as well. So as we go through this process, that's something that we also will work with districts as we explore looking down the future, instead of switching a whole different PBM, what mechanisms can we change within the pharmacy benefit manager, whether a
It
different
just
drug
looks like
list.
just math and even discounts, I mean, for us and for the employees, that option 1 and option 2 are just going to get blown out of the water by option 3.
It's, when looking at, yes, sir, that's why
So-
these exercises are very healthy.
So why are we going to waste our time with option 1 and option 2? $6 per,
Right.
that's crazy.
But is it negotiable, though,
Thank
you
you.
said, that you can still?
That's what we want to finalize.
It
and
was
figure out.
ridiculous from the beginning, it's ridiculous now. I mean, that's just a fact, I'm gonna say it, because, God, I've been waiting for this presentation for the longest time. I said it's just not there, and plus, when coming out of this presentation, I wanna know what options the administration has so we can audit our PBM.
And
And
that's
see
something
what
that
the
we can-
performance
That's
is.
on the agenda for Tuesday.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on there.
So I mean, again, I'm only one, but I would like to see if we could do a best and final offer with 3, 4, and 5.
Would it cause a lot of change, though? Because you said the committee was,
There wasn't an issue the last time when we moved.
it wasn't?
Yeah, No.
Typically, there is a possibility of change, and we always want to be very transparent about that. We're never going to sugarcoat that and
Right.
say, there is a level of change, and that was a
no-
lot of discussions we had with the committee today, is that these changes are just the nature of a change, but they are, the carriers, regardless of who it is, are great at working with administration, working with members to kind of mitigate the change. It's just the nature of any kind of change, and so we want to be very transparent that there is going to be change, but all parties involved, the carrier, the new carrier, whoever it is, administration, us, your
It's
agents.
just, I don't want to be stuck in something because we're doing it already. You know what I mean? And that's kind of my issue with the first thing, going reference-based versus kind of traditional.
And I don't want anyone to be left without medicine. That's my worry. I don't want
Yeah.
someone to not have their medicine.
That's legitimate, too.
1 month or.
So this
no
was
big deal.
discussed also with the employee committee earlier today, and they really aren't looking at Advantage Araya, but preferred Araya is what they're used to, what we're used to, right? I'm also an employee, and I also use, the service. But they were also willing to explore and seek a better, solution for the district. So this one was a little bit more, it's trickier. There's a lot of, I kept using that unknown, right? The dark horse, because it's so convoluted. Of the three,
Yeah.
this is just completely, some things that are just unknown. But the committee did recognize that, yes, maybe another carrier might be able to offer the same things at a better price to help them save money and to help the district save money.
But even that, yeah, them money, that's the important
Yes.
part too, just
Right.
like
Yes,
Trustee De
them.
Los Santos said.
Yeah.
Like, it's cheaper, according to this, for them as well.
So those, especially if we can get a best and final offer.
Right.
And we're gonna send them back into the trenches in a few minutes, right?
Right.
But we do want to get the best possible solution, and if that means, exploring those bundles that are on the table, then it's definitely an advantage to us, because we're telling them, if you want our business, get us a deal.
I'd like to, I know the two of them that are gonna go back and be contacted are here. I'd like to hear from each of them why we should look at them and offer them, or, the school district's business an option versus what we currently have. And how their companies compare to the company that we currently have, and as far as size, and et cetera. At least to give you a few minutes, because you guys are here. and you made
I
it all
will
the way out here.
I will speak on behalf of Prime.
Okay.
First of all, the rebates that we'll give you, that we have in there on the table, they're good for 12 months. We're not going to change them. They are guaranteed, and that's what we're giving you. On the funds, we have funds loaded on the medical for every year for the 3 term of the year, and also on the prescription drug. We have funds in there. Your employees have had Prime, and it's like in every change and everything, sometimes change comes and we're scared for that change. We know there's going to be disruption. We know that for the first 3 months, I have been here for a long time, and I can tell you for the first 3 months, we are going to hear wherever you change, wherever you go. And once we feel comfortable, we don't want to move. And sometimes we want to explore that option, but we are proven that we provide you with the credit that we give you. We're not giving you a total. We just give you, this is the credit that we're going to give you on a monthly basis, and it's guaranteed for that full year.
And how about the quality, as far as what they're going to be receiving or options they're going to be picking from? And I know you're going to defend your company, and I expect the other company to do as well too, but where do they stand? Are we stuck between an advantage and a preferred, or are we already getting the preferred? Like, are we already getting like the high, medium, low quality availability for our
That is
staff?
something it will be, I believe we did do the preferred. The balanced drug list, it's a top list, yeah, and there's always, you will hear like, oh, my medication is not covered. It might not be that name of the medication, but we do have 4 or 5 medications that you can take for that. And like I said, with change comes disruption. And that disruption, you're gonna hear it. For the first 3 months, until you get everything settled, you will hear. And then once they get comfortable, that's it. Like I said, we have been here before, and we didn't have issues once we were here. Okay? We do have the prior authorization, we have the step therapy, which is to manage those medications and be able to serve your employees. We have most of the pharmacists, on our network, and, we also have the mail order.
I imagine you guys, the processes are gonna be similar with anybody. But here, I imagine you guys have more access to more prescription drug, more than some of these smaller companies. So, that's why, I'm in agreement with Mr. Castillo. I know he stepped out, but I don't want to waste any of you guys' time as well. Option 3, 4, and 5, and just let's look at the big players and see what they really have to offer to us.
We'll go to the table.
Yes.
All right. We have one more? United.
I work for United Healthcare, right? Been with this company almost 20 years now.
Oh, okay.
Long time. One thing you've not addressed and I've not heard discussed is the benefit of having your medical and pharmacy carrier be the same.
Good.
That's a good
Okay,
point.
and you're with a carve-out PBM now. I will not question why you made that choice, that's fine. But from what I've heard here, that $6 fee, seriously, just, you said it beautifully, right? What I want you to keep in mind is that roughly 20 to 25% of the healthcare expenses in this country are fraud, waste, and abuse. Just unnecessary spend for you, not spend that really has a need. There's other ways to do things, lower costs, other drugs to do it. Yeah, I mean, she mentioned you will have disruption, but it's not about disruption, it's about re-education, right? It's about working with your employees to help them find a medication that saves you money. Why would you spend $200 for a medication when there's another one available for $30?
Makes sense.
And that's the simple fact of it, right? Now, in integrating of your medical and your pharmacy allows your carrier to see all the data at once. And it's all in one place. And I'll give you an example. Like, we have set up systems with doctors where when they're writing a script for the employee and they pick it, they can see your copays per medication. A lot of doctors just give a script out of habit. They don't know what it costs. Sometimes them just seeing, oh, your copay on this one is 10. Well, let me write that one. Right? So, I mean, there's a significant amount of fraud, waste, and abuse in the system. We are a data-driven company. We do things very differently, right? We are based on facts, data, aggressively reducing your costs in those no-brainer ways. You know, the ways that we lower the costs without disruption. You know, it's like whack-a-mole, right? You know, we're constantly playing whack-a-mole, and every time we hit the mole, it goes away. And the stuff that pops up is just baffling to me. We're spending your money, and I think if I say anything to you, is that you are self-insured. You are spending taxpayer money. You're asking us to spend your money responsibly. And I think if you talk with some of the other companies that we have worked with in this area over the years, you know, they see very low trend. You know, we worked with PSJ&A for 3 years. They had 3% trend over 3 years. They moved to another carrier, their trend skyrocketed. I don't know what your trend looks like, but if it's anything over 3% a year on your medical and pharmacy expenses, you're paying too much, and you're not doing enough to re-educate your employees, to engage them and help them understand how to use the system and make the most of it and get the best outcomes. I mean, that's it. And you know, I only found out about this meeting at 1 again. I'm just glad I could jump in my car and literally come down here. We do look forward to a BAFO, but I will tell you all, you know, my pharmacy guarantee will be a minimum guarantee. I know my fee is competitive. I know, you know, Optum RX is our PBM. They're either the second or the third largest PBM in the country. And United Healthcare is the 5th largest company in the world. We are the largest employer in this country, right? We do this because we are good at it. We stick to data and facts, and our objective is to spend your money responsibly, because if we don't spend your money responsibly, we don't make money. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And the better job we do at spending your money, that's how we make money. And I'm going to tell you, Zach knows me. I hate fraud, waste, and abuse in this system. Right? To me, it's taxpayer money. Come on, definitely spend it wisely. Right?
I like the numbers that I see with your company.
Yeah.
But what gets me is, you know, like Dr. Cantu said, the overwhelming majority of the committee likes Blue Cross Blue Shield. Why? I don't want to take away something that they like already. I like the numbers, and I don't have insurance myself to say, well, they offer better doctors than this one. What's the difference?
Because it's what you've always done, right? I mean, I do network matches here, and I get 99% plus network. Network is not my issue here. DHR is a customer of ours, right? Why are they a customer? Why is the predominant hospital in this area a customer of ours? You see what I'm saying? Would they buy from us if they thought we were greedy old insurance company? No, right? But it's just habit. You know, I respect Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's a wonderful organization. I won't talk negatively. Yeah, no, I wouldn't anyway. I don't anyway. You asked me why you do that, because it's just what you've always done. It just is, right? But I mean, City of McAllen has been with us since 2015. It's a long time. City of FAR, you know, PSJ&A was with us for 3 years. Did really well with us.
So as far as like services, doctors, everything is.
You're not going to. Network is the least of our issues. Our service is top notch, mainly because when you call our member services phones.
Is NAP in your network?
The what?
NAP Medical Center?
NAP is not, and I would love to have a conversation with you about NAP later on.
Well, that's a problem.
It's not really a problem, because if you needed to have your appendix out, would you go to NAP?
Huh?
Okay. I mean, I asked that question.
I did too.
Yeah, NAP is in our hospital, or in our network, in our Medicare network, and they are also in our network for emergencies. It's elective where they're not, and that is because NAP wants to be the highest paid hospital in the region. Higher than others. And to us, that is not spending your money responsibly. It's just not. Why would we pay more
Because if
to
I have
them?
say I have a kidney stone, it's a lot easier to drive to Nat, fold it over.
That's an emergency visit, you're saying, or?
Or, I mean, and also.
You go to NAP with an emergency with a
and
kidney
also
stone that's
surgery
killing you,
afterwards.
it's covered.
And also surgery afterwards or whatnot. That's not emergency surgery or anything
Correct.
like that,
That's,
so.
if you go into the emergency room, it's covered. If you go see a doctor, he says you need to have a kidney stone removed, you can use any other hospital. You can go to DHR. I mean, we've got the best discounts at DHR, hands down. They're a customer of ours.
Well, I've always
But
had
it's
great,
about, but
I've
it's
always had
also
great experiences with Nat personally.
wonderful, NAP is not in our primary network because they want to be paid a lot more than we think is justified for them, right? We can get the same services for you. We have them in our network, your claims cost more. We don't have them in our network and you go to DHR or McAllen or those other ones, your claims cost less. We don't think that's a responsibility, or that's being responsible and spending your money. That's all. I
And that's the
mean,
bottom line.
it's the bottom line.
What's a hospital in Harlingen? What's?
Valley Baptist.
We got the rest of them. Yeah, we got the rest of them. That's not an
Harlingen
issue.
Medical and all that,
Yeah, they're all in our network. It's just NAP. NAP's not been in our network for almost 10
Well,
years.
you brought up a good point, as far as looking at companies that are providing both. I mean, it makes sense. You're talking about those that have the lion's share of the business. And
When
then
your
also those
members
that-
call our nurses, and then our nurses can see your medical and your pharmacy stuff at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's benefit to that. If we have your pharmacy and your medical, our medical claims go down on average about 1.5%, sometimes 2%. Just because we can see it all at once. It's a holistic view. Right, now you said service. I just want to quickly answer that. So service, our member service line is an integration of nurses and member service. But when you think you call a service line, how do you think the employees on the other end of the line that pick it up are judged for their work?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Most of them are, how many calls a day do you do?
Well, what are we talking about? I don't know.
Service. I'm telling you, the only way we rank our service people is on feedback from the callers,
Oh, okay.
right? We don't care how many times, if they're on the phone for 3 hours. They talk to 2 people a day. They are graded on surveys from the members, and they get huge dings if someone calls back in within the next 2 days. To us, that's same issue, another call, right? It's just, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, healthcare is complicated. I remember when I first started in this business, I did not understand it. And I take for granted that I understand it. You do. We all do, right? Your employees don't know it the way that we do. They want it to be simple. They want someone to help them. They want someone to hold their hand. And you, as the school board, want someone to spend your money as responsibly as possible, because honestly, $100,000 a year of savings, that's 2 teachers. That's a lot of money. That's $6 per script times 11 a year. You're talking $70 times 2,000 employees. Put that into a number of how many teachers you could have hired for that. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's how you need to be thinking is discounts, yeah, discounts are there, but how do you get to your employees before they go to the doctor? How do you get them to pick the doctor that's going to, have them in the hospital for 2 days versus 3? How do you prevent them from going to wasting an ER visit, which is why we have the $0 copay for kids thing. Kids' doctor's visits are free. Why? Because that single mom, low income with $30 in her pocket, has no gas in her car, no food in the fridge, and a sick kid, and she has a $30 copay, and the kid's, Mommy, I'm sick. What is she gonna do? What would you do in that situation? You'd say, let's go to McDonald's, put $5 in the tank, and see how you feel tomorrow. Right? That's not okay, because that child will end up in the emergency room at 2 in the morning, and now you and your taxpayers are looking at an $8,000 bill for something that could have been done with $100, right?
Were you with Weslaco ISD before?
What?
Were you here with Weslaco ISD a couple of years ago?
Maybe, yeah, I've been working
You
in this
don't
market
remember?
for a long time.
They were, right? I think I remember when I was teaching, I saw United Healthcare. I'm
Yeah,
just trying to
yeah,
think
I mean, we
back.
may have, yeah,
Okay.
I've
Oh,
been
yeah,
down here a
so my
long
wife
time.
worked here for.
Almost 10 years doing this market, and I live in Houston, but I have a passion for this. We call you guys the Wild West down here. I know you think it's a joke, but, so. Any more questions? I mean,
No,
that,
thank
you
you,
asked me
though.
why I think we're better. I've been in this business almost 30 years. I've worked for other carriers, and I'm at the carrier I want to be at. So,
We appreciate you. First of all, we apologize for the late notification. I don't understand why that happens, but we appreciate you making the effort and being here with us and sharing all this
I was literally
information.
in my car 5 minutes after the call.
Yes, but that Houston Drive
Thank you.
is something.
It's not, I would have looked like that.
We
Thank you for
appreciate
the
you being here.
information. You did great.
So thank you all. I think some great dialogue. As Daryl mentioned, both with Prime and United Healthcare, having the two integrated, you are going to have that advantage of the left hand knows what the right's doing. And so perhaps someone gets diagnosed with diabetes, you're going to have the medical administrator also seeing, is this person filling their diabetic medication? So the coordination between the two parties can translate to savings, can translate to better health for your employees as well. So.
Hey, Zach, on the TPA and the PBM, I think it's also really important that on the final price that's provided to the board, that any agent fees are already calculated in there, that nothing gets added after the fact.
Correct, yes, sir. And the way both of those are illustrated in your packet do include those.
What are they at right now?
It's the $5 per employee per month.
For what?
The enrollment fee, yes, sir, agent fee, enrollment fee.
So if you go to your third-party administrator, that's the medical health, in the middle, you'll see something called an enrollment fee. And in my mind, you will call that the agent fee.
Okay, is that,
Per month, per employee.
is that a decent number compared to the other districts you serve?
It's always at this discretion of the district.
And then so that fee goes with whoever submitted the packet, or?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
okay.
Yeah, who set that fee?
I'm not privy to that.
The company?
We did that fee because that's what you have now.
Oh, okay.
So Blue Cross Blue Shield how come you guys submitted $5 per employee per month?
That is correct.
Why?
Why?
Why? Years back, I was probably 3 years ago when you opened out to bids, a question was asked, how much do we include for the service of the agents? And $5 was given. And that's
By the
By
district?
who?
By the district.
I think that's also pretty high.
Yeah. Well, see, and I'd asked that when I did a workshop when I first came on. I said, well, why is that even, like, I was looking at how can we just cut things, right? So my thing was, okay, that was one of the discussions, but the answer I got was not what I was looking for.
Insurance carrier does not set the fee.
Yeah,
We do not set the fee.
and you don't really care who the agent is either.
It is at the board's discretion.
Yeah, the $5, I mean, Zach, you could tell us the truth. Is it high or is it not high?
You see it across the board, and it depends on group size as well. So it really it is at the board's discretion. I mean, we see.
Let's
Still
go
not
with
answering the question.
With the best and final.
The best
we
final?
can absolutely
Yeah.
do that as well. Yes,
But,
sir.
but
again,
we're
all
setting
that's
that price.
negotiable?
That we're setting that price. That's not negotiable. They just told us that we're the ones saying $5 per employee per month.
We can talk to the insurance people and say, what is their final offer on that too?
I didn't set that price.
Because
But-
in the previous district, so
I
I'm
didn't
trying to
say it
say,
when I was here.
No?
they had wanted to go up to $3 and went back down to $1.50. Part of that also goes back to the number of employees. So again, a bigger district could have us lower costs just because of the volume. So all that's negotiable,
Let's negotiate.
and we
Negotiate.
could come back.
Okay. Well,
Any further questions, either medical or pharmacy? Okay, I will close this out with the third and final RFP that was analyzed, and that is for your group dental insurance. We did receive quite a few responses for the group dental insurance. Your current coverage is with a company called Emeritus. The district currently offers employees 2 different plans. One is a low plan, one is a high plan. Essentially, the low plan is what we would refer to in the industry as an in-network only plan. They're going to receive the highest level of benefit if they use an in-network dentist. If they do have an out-of-network dentist, there is an option to buy up to the buy-up plan that does provide a usual and customary reimbursement rate for any dentist out-of-network. So it's a great benefit the district offers employees to have that flexibility. We had some great feedback from the committee today about just how particular employees can be, or all of us, when using your dentist. So the flexibility is very well received by employees by offering the two different plans. This is a district expense and an employee expense. The district contributes or pays for 100% of the employee-only rate for the low in-network only plan. So this is an expense to balancing the budget. Any employee that chooses to enroll a dependent on the plan or a full family for either plan will pay the difference. So it is also an employee's expense as well. Out of the proposals received, we did receive 12 different proposals. All of those are within the packet, and there for your reference, similar to the medical and pharmacy, we did focus on the top 3 in addition to your current carrier emeritus. The dental premium is substantially lower than medical expenses, and so we did identify the top 3 from a financial perspective, ranked up there going left to right. So in first place, the most affordable option for the district employees was Delta Dental, Guardian in second, and MetLife in third. All 3 of these companies are very reputable companies. They're very specialized in what we call ancillary insurance, so they're very specialized in dental insurance as well. We are in the process with some of the feedback we received from the committee to really have a sound number on the network, because the proposals we received were kind of, there were some discrepancies from what we actually received, and so we want to.
Where a district goes with their providers and none of the local dentists are on the
Correct,
network.
yes, sir.
And so, yeah, we want to avoid that.
Absolutely, that's something that we're looking at. Weslaco ISD being one of the larger employers here in Weslaco, there's always an opportunity to have those discussions with dentists and participating in the awarded network, just because the assumption would be there's a high volume of employees utilizing a local dentist. Again, from a savings, we're looking anywhere from 13 to 15. We expect that to increase 13 to 15%. Expect that to increase further with final negotiations, but did want to focus on the carriers that we feel are going to offer the quality of dental care to your employees, and of course the price as well. So luckily the cards fell right with these 3 carriers. We did want to extend the opportunity to Emeritus, because they also are a great carrier. They only offer dental and vision, so they're very specialized in offering dental insurance. But they are one of the more expensive options, even beyond just Delta, Guardian, and MetLife. But out of the minimizing disruption or change to as much as possible, we did want to recommend giving Emeritus another look at it as well. So the RFP was structured and proposals were received to mirror current benefit level and design. So the only variance that we would possibly see if network changes, which is always a possibility, and or there's different reimbursement rates per the different carriers, but that was also taken into account. But the actual structure, utilization for your employees should be identical to your current coverages with Emeritus. Any questions on the dental insurance? A little more cut and dry.
Just United Healthcare is a rep there.
Yes.
Is that tied in with you as well, the dental?
Yeah, all be implemented together, and we match 92% of your dentists, so.
Okay.
Yeah, there's also a couple other things in here, but I mean, our rates were 36-month rates too, so they're good for 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, any other questions?
And that's a very easy transition. I mean, I don't think there's as big of a disruption with dental care like there would be.
I've never
with-
seen 92% matches, honestly. That is pretty darn high. But also, you know, just like with the pharmacy, when we have the dental, that feeds into the same system as our medical claim system and helps us with the big picture stuff.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Are you guys gonna have to go back into negotiations for this
Yes, sir.
That too as well?
And dental, again, to get everything apples to apples, there was multi-rate guarantees. Part of the final negotiation is we're going to try and increase those. If they didn't have it. We are going to, at this point, once we can narrow down top contenders, we really enter into negotiations and looking at those credits to help with the transition. So it just, again, with the 12 proposals that were received, we're getting all these different credits. We wanted to really look at everything as apples to apples as possible, identify based on what it means for your employees and the rate, and then we can really start those negotiations on multi-year guaranteed rate caps or locked-in rates and or some credits if available. So that's the process that we're ready to start.
Okay. Well, again, I know you said you have your top three, but I'd like option 6 here to be considered in the renegotiation stage as well.
Okay.
Just because, we requested this workshop for a reason, and at the end of the day, it's to see what else is out there. I'm so tired of this, of hearing from the past, well, this is how we've always done it, this is what we've always done, and sometimes what we've always done is not the best for our employees or the best for the district.
Yes, sir. And that's as mentioned, why this exercise is so healthy. When you do get things side by side, sometimes you identify things that might not be what you would expect. And so it's a very healthy exercise, doing your due diligence to make sure taxpayers' money is protected and the best deal is offered for your employees. Mr. Trevino, with your recommendation, I would recommend option with Blue Cross as well to be a
I was
part
about
of
to
that.
say,
Yes.
everyone that already is submitting and has all
Yes.
three in there, you probably should bundle
Recommend
them
that as
together
well.
and see what they come back with, because
Correct.
Bundles.
That one, yes.
it just makes sense,
Yeah, absolutely.
Good observation from both of you.
No, we appreciate you being here as well, ma'am, yes.
Zach, I don't know what your scope was, but if you had a chance to look at our group health plan altogether, or if it's just this.
The scope was this right now.
so you
it's been,
okay.
Staff's been great working with, administration's great working with me. It's been a real quick process here, getting everything, but we would love the opportunity to continue. There's a lot of information presented tonight, and there's a lot of work that's going to go over the next couple of days, but to continue to audit those recommendations to make sure that they are delivered similar to what we've kind of been experiencing.
Well, Doctor, could I ask you a question? As far as the health of our health insurance plan, because we are the insurance company essentially, are we okay? We're not running in a deficit or anything like that, or?
No, we're not.
No? It's self-sufficient kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know.
So
And I
it
mentioned
is
earlier
on-
about the audit, it's gonna be on the agenda on Tuesday to go and audit all the health services.
And a lot of it too, we've also had COVID rebates, right, that have been plugged in there as well too.
Yes,
Right,
so
overall cost?
luckily it's on our superintendent's update about how the plan is faring. A lot of costs had hit the system because of COVID and COVID-related items. A good portion has been, in a sense, refunded or paid back from the ESSER grant. And so that is one big thing that's going to happen for this year. That's what will kick it into making sure we're in the black.
Yeah.
So the services that we do have with One Digital, it is to assist with the process of the evaluation. It is a 3-month process. After that, when kind of the new school year kicks in,
Right.
If we like his services, I'm joking, we will then bring back to the board a long-term contract for next year.
Zach's helped districts that I work in out of binds before. He does a good job.
Numbers were right.
So it is, and then we have just how Dr. Rivera said, item A on the action, discussion and action. The very first one is that item to go deep down history.
Right.
So in a sense, One Digital is looking for today and the future, but we are asking for requests to go out for RFPs to look at the history of what had happened in the department.
And Doctor, just to kind of underline what you said a little bit, you did not set that $5 price.
No, I didn't. I like the figure, maybe $1, $2, maybe.
There you go.
Well, thank you all for your time. As questions come up, we're always here to.
Thank you all. Thank you for all this work and the administration and the committee too. I know it's super complicated. I mean, it's very, very complicated. So thank you all so much for your work.
You might not get the recommendation tomorrow, and maybe until Monday, after we look at all the different, the best and finals.
Will it be presented to us on Tuesday?
Yes.
Yes, they'll be here.
But normally on Monday, on Friday, you get the recommendation. But this time, till we get the best and final, it'll probably be later, maybe Monday or Tuesday for sure.
And then we'll have representatives there as well too at that meeting?
Yes,
They'll be
they're
invited?
all welcome to come by.
That way they know.
Yes.
And I want to take a few minutes or seconds really to thank the committee because they spent 2.5 hours with us going through this, and it's hard work and
Yeah.
it's a commitment, and they're not just looking at it from their own standpoint and their needs, but the needs of the district as well and,
Right.
and their fellow coworkers. So they're very considerate about the needs that they're bringing to the table as far as from their they're representing, the campuses, the different departments. So we have a very good committee, and we're very fortunate to be working with them.
thank them
And
for
you
us.
did invite the committees, the members.
Yes, sir. We did have a couple of them. We had a whole bunch in that corner at the beginning, but because of other commitments, but Ms. Moreno's still here.
But also the agencies too.
And
You informed them, because you and I talked about this on Friday, to inform all the ones from the different firms to be present today.
Yes, sir.
You did
So
inform them.
so it's definitely, thank you very much for taking the time to be here, and as you
But they
saw,
were-
it's been a really.
But they were
beneficial-
informed, not at the last minute. They were informed earlier in the day.
Yes, sir.
Friday.
Yes, sir. But there were some that we couldn't reach.
Okay, I follow.
And,
I follow.
yeah, so we have emails and we have phone calls and multiple tries, and
As
by the
long
time
as
we
you-
finally
as long
got
as
all
you
of
made
them.
the effort to get everybody here.
Did you want to say something, Mel? You can say it from there.
It is the agenda, Dr. Rivera, is on the website, so that's where I go and I find out every Monday, what's going on, every Friday
Good.
afternoon. I go in there and every Monday, that's something that I do, but if I see something on the agenda that, one of the groups that I service, I'm just gonna be there in case that there's a question. That's the way I find out, so I don't.
Very
wait-
good.
I don't wait for, it's not the school's responsibility to be telling us who's gonna be put on the agenda.
That's true.
No, but
Thank
I
you.
understand that, but we did send out an email, and we actually made that request
Yes.
because we wanted to make this workshop as
Yes.
informative as possible.
David,
Thank you, agents, for being here.
Yes.
were you on that committee?
Yes.
Okay. No, I'm talking about,
Yes, sir.
and, did you discuss this with, the other members, from the staff?
Hey,
I'm sorry?
Did you discuss this with,
The committee.
with the other employees that, that you work with? So,
35 of us that were here.
So-
We were here most of the morning up until noon. We went, it's about 12:30 more or less.
the reason I ask is, if there's an issue, we're gonna hear it from them, from y'all. So it's good that y'all are aware of what's on the table. Because one of the issues that we've had in the past when we go with something, including disruptions, for people with diabetes, for example, where they can go for 1 or 2 months without anything because of that disruption. So we want to make sure that whatever we decide on is going to be as solid as possible for every employee of this school district. Like Mr. Dos Santos has said, it's not about numbers, it's about what's going to be best for you all, for our employees. And we just want to make sure that this recommendation is based on a thorough review of what's up there, what's on the table. And then the other thing that we've always addressed is, what's it going to cost you in the end? Because, the school district can only absorb so much of an expense, and then they put it back on you all. And that's not what I want. A raise doesn't do anything if you're having to pay for medical expenses. So that's what we want to make sure is well addressed.
Yes, sir. What you all saw on the boards, that's exactly what we saw. The top three and then top four on the dental. That's exactly what we saw. We didn't see all the other stuff you all saw, but we saw what's on the boards. And we did bring up all those points as far as what's best for the employees. We did take in consideration also what's best for the district, but also what's best for our employees.
And we also discussed the education, and they brought it up, and Dr. Cantu brought it up, and Zach as well, and saying if there is a change, there is time to inform the staff members so that they understand that there might be a change and that you have 3 months in case there is one. So then they did discuss all of that with us too, and they did share all that information.
Could the committee potentially view what we saw? I mean, because just seeing what was on the board, I mean, that's, you're kind of like limiting what their recommendation could be.
So we will have them sign some non-disclosure
Yeah,
agreements.
that's possible.
And then looking forward to maybe recalling the committee back on Monday to discuss, what was discussed here with you all.
Yeah, because
and
we
take
don't
that
want
into
them,
consideration.
because say, if we see more stuff, and then say that it's better for them and it's better for the district, but they didn't see that and they think we didn't follow their recommendation, that's an issue, So I think if we're gonna go by their recommendation.
Why waste their time?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So we'll be
And
bringing
we
them
don't want
back.
that to be an issue, so.
And that'll be like best and final offers, right?
Yes, that, we're waiting for that BAFO.
Yeah.
And once we have that, then we can revisit all of that information.
Well, thank you all for.
Yeah, thank
for
y'all very
everything.
much.
Thank you so much. Y'all did a great job.
And thank you all.
Yes, definitely.
Great presentation.
2 more.
Here we go. Let's see, next.
Next on the agenda, Dr. Sid?
Mine is very short.
They're gonna ask
Good
a bunch of
evening.
questions, though. so.
We are. It's gonna happen.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Rivera, and members of the board. I am here to provide a very brief update on mental services based on the board agenda item back in February. So what you see here on my first slide is a side-by-side comparison of the 2 mental health providers that submitted documents for RFQ 23-0540. So the first organization is Goodside Health Medical PLLC, which is based in Fort Worth, Texas, and TrueCare 24 Incorporated, based in Tampa, Florida. As far as provision of telemental health services to school districts, Goodside Health already is in partnership with 6 school districts, and TrueCare does not have that experience yet. And as far as provision of services to students regarding teletherapy program, I know Goodside Health provided mental health screening for 3,000 students in the 6 different school districts, and currently are serving 12 students. And TrueCare does not have that either. So as far as experience in mental health services, Goodside Health has 2 years of experience, and TrueCare has 8 years. They are mainly providing services to assisted living facilities. As far as their certified mental health providers, Goodside Health has 23, and TrueCare has a network of providers nationwide. So they didn't give us a number on that one. As far as after the MOU is executed, and the onboarding process will take about 30 days before we can start mental health services with our students. It's kind of the same timeline with TrueCare. And they both provided 3 references. And I would like to close my presentation by thanking the board and Dr. Rivera for exploring options to increase mental health access for our students. That's definitely very much needed. And if you look, this is an article from the Texas Tribune, and I just would like to summarize what's it saying there, that there is currently a shortage of mental health professionals that are servicing the state of Texas. And as far as access to children's mental health services, Texas ranks the lowest. So we're definitely on point when it comes to exploring different options to provide for our kiddos. And there is a need to strengthen our mental health resources, and that's what we're doing, because as President Joe Biden said, mental health affects us all. So that is the end of my presentation. I told you it's brief.
I'll go first.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, I do.
Uh-oh.
Yes, I'll go first. No, and this is, and it's a serious topic, and I have serious questions. But our elementary campuses right now, I know it fluctuates depending on enrollment, but how many counselors are, let's say, on 1,000 capacity, 1,000 student enrollment campus? How many counselors would you have there?
So right now, most of our elementary campuses have 2 counselors,
Okay.
except for 3 schools. I
Okay.
believe that's Silva, Gonzales, And Ibarra.
because of the enrollment, so they have one.
Correct.
And then middle schools, on average?
The middle schools have 2 counselors, and right now, except for Dr. Armando Cuellar Middle School, because Lisa Martinez, our counselor, retired back in December, and she hasn't been replaced, but she will be
And
replaced,
high
I
schools?
believe.
How many do you have at the high schools?
The high school, I know Weslaco High School has a total of 8 counselors right now, including our CCMR specialists, who we consider really as college and career
Right.
counselor.
Additional.
And at Weslaco East High School, they have less population, so they have 1 less.
Okay, so my and this is what I'm trying to get to, is that that's the breakdown of our structure, of our counseling structure right here at the school district. Now, how many actually, like you kind of already touched on it, the CCMR, how many actually have time to provide counseling services to students? How many don't have additional duties and whatnot that prevent them from actually being accessible at different times of the day, or to any student that just decides to walk in, or giving additional duties and are outside of their office and not available to students? How many of those counselors that you listed from elementary to middle and high, you can say they're available any time of the day and they're accessible and they don't have other additional duties that prevent them from meeting with students?
Oh, our counselors are overworked. I can guarantee you that.
And I work in the school system, and I know especially that counselors are doing additional, especially at the secondaries. Because they're dealing with students' graduation plan, things like that, credits, all kinds of stuff. So I know that we're looking at online services, but what I'm trying to do is steer away from that, okay? And why don't we look at a district initiative where we have somebody available, we invest in having somebody available that's truly not going to be touched and given additional duties, and be available to say, hey, if I need to go to this campus and talk to this individual, this student, I can be there. And they can go and actually sit with them uninterrupted, have complete time, no phones or somebody knocking at the door, and can say, what's going on? How can I help you? Because realistically, counselors aren't there just sitting waiting for students to drop by, and that's kind of why I've been talking to some people in the public, because they've asked me about the online services and kids being able to log on. But the reality is that a lot of our counselors have so many additional duties that they're not available for students to walk in the door. And so my thing is I was thinking about this, because I know this topic came up again, is why don't we look at investing in individuals maybe that I'm not saying every campus is going to have one, but that's available for elementary, somebody that's available for middle school, somebody that's available for high school, and they can say, hey, we need you to come and talk to the student. And they can make their schedules, they can go in there and they sit with that child, and they actually really give them the time that they need to address whatever's troubling them or on the back of their mind. That's kind of what I wanted to pitch. Have you all thought of that? As far as hiring somebody that they'll say, this is all you're truly gonna counsel, be there to be an ear that the students can fall on.
You brought up a couple of good points there, Mr. De Los Santos. So just to kind of let you know that we do have, I believe, 1 social worker per secondary campus.
Okay.
So they are the ones who are actually seeing kids uninterrupted during this school day, because they don't have all these many responsibilities, right?
Okay.
So they are doing individual group counseling, as well as, individual counseling as well as group counseling. And we do also have the mandate, which is Senate Bill 179 on the 80/20, wherein we need to be in compliance, where 80% of the time of our counselors need to be spent on the 4 Texas competencies, right? And one of them is responsive services, and 20% on non-counseling duties. So we're so used for many years that if there's a task, we give it to the counselor. So we're kind of slowly moving away from that.
Right. And that's my question. You kind of led right into that, and this isn't pre-planned. I wanted to know, have we looked at that job description and those duties and said, hey, you know what? You're being, because I know that they fall under the campus principals, right? And I know I'm gonna maybe ruffle little feathers, but it is what it is, Have we looked at that and said, okay, you know what, this individual's being pulled away too far and too much from their job description, the services are being provided?
Yes, sir.
And maybe we need to structure that in a way so they actually should do what they're hired to do?
Definitely. So when the Senate Bill 179 8020 Counselor's Time came out, which was at the very beginning of my career as a Director for Student Support Services, every month I've been requesting every single counselor to submit their a log.
Right.
I call it the
Time and
counseling
effort.
program tracking form, right? So
Okay.
every single month. And then I mine and analyze that data, right? And then I will inform the principals, hey, you're over the limit for non-counseling duties, because again, for so many years, we're so used to just using the counselors for whatever task, right? So we're kind of doing away with that since Senate Bill 179 came out. And so the principals are very aware. And then one of the things that Mr. Aguilar has asked the principals to do is to acknowledge that they are aware that these are the percentage of the counseling when it comes to the counselors spending time on those competencies. Would you like to share something, Mr. Aguilar?
You're correct. So we revisited that, Mr. De Los Santos. We had a good discussion, being a former principal, I can understand that as well. And the need why we have to utilize our counselors, within our campuses. But one thing is we want to make sure that we're in compliance and we're servicing our students the way they need to be serviced and make sure that we're carefully working on our plan to make sure the services are provided and also the duties that they need to apply outside. So we are looking at that very carefully, and we did meet with our principals. We had a meeting with them, and we let them know. They're also acknowledging that what they're submitting is falling within that compliance range.
Oh, okay.
So we are carefully looking at that.
Oh, great job.
And thank you for putting that on the board update. I did read it on Friday that you had put that you had them filling out the forms and
Yes.
they had the hours. I did read it on Friday. I do appreciate that.
Yes, it's
on there.
documented. So,
Right.
but
Right.
thank you
Yeah,
so
and
much
it's-
for advocating for our counselors.
Yeah, I just wanted to, yes, I know it's documented, but I also wanted to, so people can hear it, that's the direction that we're going in, and then the need. And then plus also just looking at individuals, like I said, something to think about. I don't know, do other districts do that? I know that somebody was telling me that the university had, I forgot what university it was. It's here locally. I think it's, I don't want to say, I think it's STC. But they have individuals that are there that are specifically just available for students in case there's issues. They don't do any other type of duties there at the campuses, but they're just available. And I thought, I've never seen that, at least where I work, or others, or I've never heard about another district. So maybe that's something the district can look at too. Before we spend monies on programs that are outside, that are something you have to log into, maybe we can get somebody actually here in person that's their full time. And maybe the monies might correlate the expenditures. That's what I'm trying to say.
And that's what I kind of suggested before, but I was thinking PLCs, more social workers, more PLCs. And I know we use some of the ESSER funds, I believe, to hire more PLCs,
LPCs.
LPCs, sorry.
Yeah.
You're
Saying
there,
it
you're
backwards.
there.
Those are the
I know that
learning communities.
Yeah, sorry. We hired some with ESSER. I know counselors have a lot of other duties, so I had thought, well, can we afford more? I know they're very much needed, but I don't,
Yeah, because like, what are the costs of I know we're going to go and get costs, but what is the cost of like any of these services here that are online?
So
What's
right
it
now,
overall?
Currently, for this school year, we do have 6 on staff
Okay.
being paid through ESSER.
Yes, sir.
The word I had gotten when I first came on board that, in a sense, next year, those positions, we were going to close it.
Right.
In working with Mr. Garlick and talking with the superintendent, we are going to keep this for one more year through ESSER. So we're kind of making those changes.
I was sitting in a meeting somewhere and a superintendent told me Esther got extended for one more year. Is that true?
Talking. I think.
There is talk.
Okay. So,
Like, in other words, if I buy something and it just doesn't get here in time,
Right.
they're giving us more time to
okay.
pay it.
Oh, okay.
to pay it.
Yeah, because federal dollars have cutoffs, so you can make the purchase, but if you don't make the window cutoff, then you have to pay for them when they arrive.
Okay, so they're
gonna
extending it.
extend, yeah, the window for you to receive.
The plan is to spend all the money
Well, good.
by next
That's
school
nice.
year. That way, but included now in the plan is that we are keeping those 6 LPCs for one more year to assist with this process.
And the plan then
don't
after
encumber
that,
them?
the plan is to continue after that 1 year.
Well, that's great.
And so
because-
that's going to
From-
be
from
the-
local funds.
From local funds.
Okay.
Or we'll work with.
And speaking to the staff, they are very much needed, and they say, and if we can even have more, because there's a huge need as you guys know.
That's absolutely right. And I do have, I want to acknowledge Dr. Vieira. She's here. You want to say something, Dr.
Well,
Vieira?
Trustee Cuellar was going to ask a question.
No, I was, about the spending, can you encumber anything with those ESSER funds?
Not salaries, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the intent is like if you, let's say you're building something like HVAC,
Uh-huh.
everything doesn't get here in time.
Right.
Because of the supply chain.
Mhm.
You can't do salaries. I specifically asked the state director, 2 weeks ago. He said, yeah, it's physical things.
Ms. Viera?
Yes, well, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm a rookie at this, but I will try. Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Rivera, and the school board members, and thank you as well. I want to reiterate also for shining light on a much-needed topic. And normally it gets pushed aside, and we, the mental health providers, we are sometimes feel like we're on an island of our own advocating for the needs of our community in this arena. And so I'm so proud to be an employee of this district and to be led and guided by many of you who are looking at the challenge and looking at it, resolutions head on. I also want to thank Dr. Rivera for the beautiful message that you sent to us for Mother's Day. Oftentimes our roles outside of the school district are overlooked. And it's those moments where you look at us as humans and know that we are taxed in so many different directions and roles that make a difference for us, and recognizing that our students are under a lot of pressure academically, socially, and just recouping, recovering from the extended isolation through COVID. We did see a big setback in their social development and their emotional intelligence, which continues to this day. So to only focus on their academic needs and not looking at them in a holistic approach is not the way to go. And so I'm very happy that we have a board and superintendent that recognizes the need of our students. I have service students in the mental health arena for about 32 years now, and I have not seen the need so great as I have these last couple of years. And so I am grateful to be a part of this district and be plowing forward and setting the example for other districts to provide for this need of our students. If these needs are not being provided, we are going to begin to see a decline in their academic success as well, and their future endeavors. So this is a very important part of them to be able to function.
Also removing the stigma from it too.
Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So, and we have always struggled with being able to discuss it openly, and even just having our parents and our staff normalize the need, just like we talk so openly about medical needs. We need to get to that platform to be able to discuss mental health needs as well, and just normalize it as a basic human need.
It's just as important.
So, but did you have any questions regarding our LPCs?
I have a couple questions, but it's not necessarily regarding the LPCs. And you're not a rookie. You did really well.
Okay. Thank you.
32 years is not a rookie.
So I know that we have an MOU with UTRGV, right, for this. So if we were to go and select the provider per the RFP, is that like a duplication of services, or is it something that will help us?
As far as provision of teletherapy program, it is a duplication of services, because that's exactly what they are providing for free. But there's a maximum of 4 sessions only, and then after that they make a referral.
Okay, and so would it be complementary to it, or is it just a straight duplication of services? I guess is my question. I mean, is there a benefit to going for this program or not?
So TCHAT, when it comes to provision of services like those teletherapy program, it's only during business hours. Okay, that means it's from 8 to 5 o'clock. So with one of the mental health providers that submitted those documents, they go after school. They can provide those teletherapy services for our kiddos who, for example, like my child, she does not want to she doesn't want to get pulled out of class. There are some children or students who don't want to get pulled out of class. So we do have one provider who's willing to provide services at home.
Which one is that one?
That would be Good Side Health.
Okay, because I know I have kids in middle school, you know, and it's not, like you said, there's a stigma. It's embarrassing. I don't want anybody to know that I'm going to counseling or to go to talk to somebody. But if they can do it at home confidentially, it would work a lot better. And I'm speaking, if I'm feeling like that in my child, I'm sure a lot of others are too.
Correct.
So that's what I like about it.
How much was it? Did we get a price?
Yes, it's $10 per student, and they're willing to say that we can enroll 40% of our student population. So that means if we have 16,000 kiddos, 40% of that is 6,400.
We got about, yeah,
6,400. So you're looking at $64,000, right?
So it's about 6,600 kids at $10?
Yes.
And that's for the year?
That's for the entire
Or-
year.
Okay, it's not monthly, okay.
10 months, I'm sorry.
Or 10
Well,
months.
And that's if you have 6,600
Close
kids.
to like
in there.
$70,000 for the
Yes.
year.
And then the other organization is a little bit pricier. So that's just for the equipments, insurance. They bill us with different things per month. So I was calculating earlier, just for that, it's about $105,000 plus $89 per hour.
So what's your thought? I mean, is this a benefit to our, I mean, is this a good use of our resources to help?
I believe it is, yes.
So we should,
because-
so you're thinking we do the 70,000, we're gonna cover 40% of the students,
If needed.
and then we can look at the end of the year and see how many people actually use the service. We'll be
That-
able to get a report
that would be
on
my
that, 'cause I would like to see that,
recommendation.
yes.
That would be my recommendation. So we need to explore this option
Yeah.
to
because
increase
the-
access to
And then the
mental health
40% will be filled as students came in or requested access? Is that the way it works?
Correct.
Because you don't know who actually wants to use it.
Correct.
Right.
Instead of going by, we want to enroll all our secondary students, I can guarantee you about 75% or more of our students in secondary will not need those services. So it's better to open it up to all our
All students,
campuses,
yeah.
yes.
So it's up to 40%. It's not an automatic 40%.
I
No, it's
believe
an upfront fee.
automatic 40%.
It's automatic
Oh,
I'm-
40% fee.
I'm pretty sure we can negotiate.
That's what I'm saying, it's an automatic fee, at this point, with their contract, it's an automatic 40% upfront cost, flat rate cost, and then you can add more as you needed. In the previous
Correct,
contract
yeah.
you
Okay.
submitted,
That
I
it
thought
said
you
you
had
could
said
add more
30%
if more
last
kids
time.
wanted to
It
use it.
wasn't 30%? The last time
40%,
It was 40?
yes.
40, it was 40 in the,
30.
in the meeting we had a few months ago.
Okay.
And
Unless business office can negotiate something else, so.
Can we put it on?
Six LPCs for the whole district. That's a lot of kids with for 6 LPC.
There's definitely a need, I
There's
can
a
tell you
need.
that, yes.
Well, you keep
I
tracking
know
data
there's
of
a
how many
need.
kids actually go for counseling services, don't you?
Yes, sir, we do.
You have, and
Dr.
we
Sid.
never see those.
Dr.
Can you, I
Sid,
mean, can we, oh, go ahead.
have we lost any students?
Yes, unfortunate,
So I don't think we can put a dollar amount
No.
for one life,
correct.
so.
Yeah, he beat me to it. I was about to say, even if one kid uses, even if one child uses it,
If
and
we
we
can-
paid 70,000 and they
We
were
can
fine with
save,
it.
that's exactly what I mentioned.
To save
If we-
lives, I don't think we
If
can.
we can save one life,
Yeah.
you cannot put a
Outside
price
of the
into
school
it.
hours.
Yeah.
And I agree with after school hours, but we also gotta come up with something where kids feel that they can go during the school day. I mean, like, they don't need to get pulled out. I don't know, like, what's the process? Like, let's say I'm a child in the class and I got issues, and I got something that's bothering me and I wanna go talk about it. Can I just go to the teacher and say, hey, I need to go see, Miss Ustaita? And, when they just get let go, or are they withheld from actually going to the counseling? Like, how does that work right now when a child in a classroom during the day wants to go talk to somebody? Do they just tell the teacher, hey, I need to leave, I need to go to the counselor?
That should be the procedure, right?
Is
Hey, I
that-
want to talk to the counselor, may I please go? So, and
Right.
then hopefully, at the very beginning of the school year, we did present something to the teachers. It was like a pass. So they will, as soon as the kids enter the classroom, right, they will actually have a way of telling the teachers, how am I doing today? It can be different things. It could be an emoji. It can be something on a post-it, and then if one student says, I could really use somebody to actually listen to what I need to say, then the teacher should be writing that pass writing the pass, give it to the student, and so they can go to the counseling office. So it should be like that.
And they know that, like, there's a procedure in place knowing, hey, if a child comes to you and says, I need to go talk to so-and-so, or I just need a
Yes,
pass
and
to
we,
go.
yes, sir,
They
and
know.
we can definitely, we're planning again to talk to all the teachers at the beginning of this school year. We can definitely reiterate
And I
that
work in
again.
the educational systems, and software is always brought in, right? And so let's say Good Side Health, right? Everybody says yes, and this gets contracted. Will kids be brought in and shown, like brought into the auditorium? I mean, because this is a very big topic. In a group of students in a gym, there is one student there that's thinking about doing something that they shouldn't. That's a fact, right? And we know that. So will they be brought in and said, okay, you know what? We have these services. We have, during the day on-hand services. And if you guys go home and you feel you need to talk to somebody, because most kids, you see, they go into social media. They make outcries on social media, and then nobody even pays attention to them. And it's because it's their peers and they're young and they didn't realize that there was a serious situation there at the time. But when you look at all these other incidences, you'll see that there was an outcry, just went right over everybody's head. Parents didn't see unusual behavior. Friends didn't catch the phrases and the comments they made online. So are you going to bring them in and tell them, this is what we have here during the day? Any of you can go and access this. And then also, this is available to you now after hours and you're at home. If you need to talk to somebody.
I like that idea.
Yeah,
We
it is a good
definitely
idea.
will do that.
I think it needs to be done because, like I said, there's stigmas. Like Trustee Castillo said, he's right. A lot of kids refrain from that because they're, I don't want to be pulled out by the counselor. But we need to do that. We need to have presentations, bring them into the gym.
There's no point in doing it if we're not going to let them know how to use it.
Exactly.
That's correct. And we're all in agreement. Mental health services is a need. And we are not shying away from that. We want to be at the forefront and provide all the services that our students need, and we got to get better in that educational piece and communication piece.
Right.
And that's something that we're working on. We're addressing our needs with a compliance piece, making sure that the counselors have the time, but there is a great need for it because we're seeing that on a daily basis, and it's just continuing to amplify. But I think it's that communication piece where we're at, and really to make sure when it's needed, it's not up for discussion. This is what's available out there, and we need to make sure that we provide those services to our students. So we're going to continue working to that.
Because Mark brought it up, along the same lines. We give that student or the student requests a pass. Now, what are the guarantees or what's the percentage? 80% that the counselor will be there in the office ready to service that student, due to extra duties that they may have. That's the concern, and obviously, you guys aren't on the particular campuses on a daily basis, but we must look at that just to assure that we are available to the students.
And you're correct, sir, because those are the discussions we have daily with our principals.
Yes.
It is a tough.
Yes,
tough.
yes,
yeah.
yes. No,
It's tough on them
I-
too, the principals.
I was on the campus, and you're going to utilize them. But one of the main things, that we always share with them, at the end of the day, we utilize them, but we also have to be creative how we work with our staff because we need to make sure that they are doing their job first and foremost. At the end, yes, and I'm going to give you an example with some of my staff. I needed them for X, Y, and Z, but you let me know when I'm pulling you too much, or if I'm doing this, let me know. And that's a communication piece that we have to get better at, and they need to be able to share that with their team.
Mr. Aguilar, I know we're getting closer to graduations and so forth, so I know they're going to be swamped with work. We really need to make sure that somebody is available there, whether a door open, whatever it may be, available to the students during this time that graduations and all these other ceremonies that are going on. But I think right now is a time when some students are feeling at the highest peak of their stress level or whatever it may be, and we need to make sure that these campuses, even if we have to pull additional from other campuses where the need may not be as great, or they don't have the numbers? I don't know, just, we need to make sure that we do have staff available.
I'd seen also like an app at one time. I saw one district had an app where they could not make an outcry, but say, hey, I need to talk to somebody. And it was just an app they could download and schedule. Like say I downloaded it as a child and I just get, and it wasn't discussion or texting or anything like that, right? Because we have policies, protocols, but they just like be able to click on there and the other person would be able just to say, okay, 10:30 or whatever, and then they knew. I don't know. I kind of researched it last time when it was brought up. But what other options and what are other districts doing?
And we acknowledge that, and that goes back to Dr. Sid, does a great job keeping us informed.
Right.
Through our administrative side over here, it's our job with Mr. Buttermer leadership team to bring them all together with our leaders, our campus counselors, social workers. How are we providing the services? Right. And that's what we work through our communication. Whenever she has a question, pops in my office, gives me a call. We need help. We have good communication with that. We set up meetings and we get it going, because we understand the need, and the need is there.
I was going to say, from a personal example, my children are going through emotional things, as a lot of teenagers are. Come to find out at Goya, there's no counselor. I just heard right now. As a board member, I don't know who to ask. The first person I go to is the teacher. Can you please help my child? Who do I ask? The teachers did a great job. Yes, we'll see what we can do. So now we have the assistant principals helping out, doing counselor duties or, licensed professional counselor duties. We're short-staffed also. So we need, and I'm not saying just Guayara Middle School who's missing their counselor. I don't know if any other schools are, but that school, being a middle school from elementary, you know how everything changes for kids. That's a crucial age. So to have those kids without a counselor and Guayar, you guys know what goes on over there.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that we're not just Guayar, all the kids in our district, but especially because I went through it as a parent myself, where there's nobody there to talk to my child. And fortunately, there was. Fortunately, the assistant principal came and did a great job. They handled it great. I have no complaints. But I just want all the other kids to have access to somebody.
Absolutely. And like was it last week, Dr. Sid, we were sitting down having that discussion regarding the ratio that we're looking at with our counselors, breaking everything down, the needs. We do gather a lot of their input. We seek the input. We do discuss it with our principals. Dr. Rivera is very open when we're looking at our staffing, recommendations, suggestions, and we're studying everything very carefully. But we do have an open communication amongst ourselves, and we are looking at all that.
Okay,
we do.
That's good. I just want to make sure somebody's there for these kids, because they won't go say, can I speak to somebody? That's the reality. The kids won't say, they're going to stay quiet, and it's the adults a lot of times who notice it.
And any pivoting that we need to do on the fly, we'll do that. We do make adjustments as needed.
Thank you.
Well, I would just like to add, Doctor, is there a way, I'm sure there's consultants out there. Yeah, we can get even a consultant over there at Cuellar Middle School for now, just to fill that void that we have there.
I think there's 3 weeks left.
We'll come up with a plan.
Yeah.
We'll come up with a plan,
We'll sit
sir.
down and come up with a plan.
We'll sit down tomorrow and we'll start evaluating and make a recommendation.
Okay.
We'll come up with a plan.
Thank you.
Thank you
for
so
everything.
much.
Great information.
So, Mr. De Los Andres, just one last thing. You mentioned about the app.
Yes. Yes.
There is an app about it's kind of like a virtual counselor. It's by alongside. It's something that some of the school districts are exploring right now. So basically, most of the time, our kids are asking for coping skills. That's basically to build resiliency, right? To overcome any adversity in life. So there is an app called Alongside, and it's something that we can explore if that's what you guys are recommending. as
And I
well.
was just talking about like Trustee Castillo was saying, the stigma, because it does. And we were all, even as adults, they're reluctant to go out and seek help if they need it. So my thing is kind of like I was saying, they get pulled out, like you mentioned it, getting pulled out of a classroom. Of course, nobody wants to get pulled out, at any point, because every single child knows exactly why they're getting pulled out, or something's wrong, right? Kids are really quick to pick up on things. like that. So I know I saw an app at one school district, I'll research it, and I'll pass it to, where it was in discussion, right? Because you don't want to open up that window over the phone. But it was just kind of like, I could reach out and say, hey, I need to see you, are you available, or is there a counselor available? And then counselors would send back a time. And then they knew now they can go tell the teacher, okay, it's 10:30, and I was told that somebody'd be there. Kind of answering trustees Trevino's question, like, how do we know somebody's there and even available? Even if they do ask the teacher to go. So that's what I was kind of looking at, but it was just like an appointment type.
Oh, okay. So I know that I'm working together with the technology department regarding the QR code that you mentioned long time ago. So that's in the works. And as far as having someone there all the time, we do. So we even set up our their lunch schedule so that there's always someone there, even though it's during lunchtime. For sure, our social workers are pretty good at always having that open door and being there for the kids all the time.
Good job.
But again, Doctor, we don't have anybody at Coya Middle School, right?
Yes, that one we need to work on.
So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you
All right,
so
thank
much.
you so much, so much information, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
And our last topic is the budget.
The budget.
And I'm like looking behind me, like, where did everyone go?
This one's the good one.
Yeah, this is where the fun happens.
There's also gonna have a lot of questions.
So, just sharing again, if you look in the newspapers, a lot of things are happening in Austin. This is just so you could just have it in the back of your mind. Senate Bill 10 talks about retired teachers. So I know we kind of pick so much on current teachers, but we also have to remember that they're still a teacher, I guess, in heart. But I kind of highlighted the last little point that they're talking about, that the state is thinking about changing the TRS rates. If Senate bill goes in, another 1% of the salary goes back into TRS. And so, again, just keep an eye out on those type of...
What is it right now, like 8%?
Right now, it's 8, and they're recommending 9 through Senate Bill 10. So, just FYI.
Okay.
Another one that's coming out is we were at the 3-week mark. The goal is for the state legislature to finish everything by the end of the month. Things are still not being finalized. I think there's already talks that a summer session coming up. And so, again, as we kind of get closer to the end of the month, hopefully all the different bills that are truly on the table to get passed, that there is some final numbers kind of get approved so that we could then finish up our part. Let's pretend the state does not do that, that they do have bills that are pending, that they do call a summer session. How we would do it for the budget part would be that we would budget based on old law, knowing that, and we'll make that a comment again on June 20th, that once the new law kicks in, we would just have a budget amendment to change those numbers that will change. So the hope would be more funds in certain areas, and then that would also be part of the pay raises.
When do we have to set our tax rate?
It was actually in September 30th.
Okay, so we got time.
We are hoping to do it actually in August.
Okay.
So everything.
So all that with taxes should be finalized by then?
That is right, yes. So House Bill 100, so again, I'm just throwing out these different House bills. That's the one that deals with revenues. So if numbers just stay the same, old law, now we have what new law would look like. House bill is saying, just by keeping the same numbers, $2.3 million additional to the district. We don't know what the Senate bill side has, but more likely it's going to be different. So they have to come together, have a conference to iron out all those little differences. But if things go as planned, we will be seeing additional funds, even if nothing had changed, in other words, number-wise, with the district. again, as soon as we get updates, we work with Mo Casey out of Austin to get us those new numbers. And so whenever we hear them, we will make those adjustments. So along with Senate Bill 100, House Bill 100, how are the teacher pay raises are kind of coming out? So again, this is old news, but it's still very popular news, especially what the Senate side of the House is doing. Because they're saying anywhere for a one-time kind of payment from $2,000 for a large district, over 20,000 kids, to $6,000 for what we will call a small district, under 20,000 kids. We're 16, 17,000, so we would lean towards the 6,000 pay raise. But then you look to the House version of that bill, totally different. So they're saying 50% of what is going to be the increase for Weslaco ISD, you have to say 50% is going to be a teacher pay raise.
Right.
What does that look like for an average district in the state of Texas? $960. So way different ranges, I guess, of what one side is saying versus the other side. So those are the fights that are happening in Austin, just keeping you informed of those. But as soon as we see that these bills become law, we will apply those numbers, and we will be able to share that with everyone. Okay. So that's all I have, just a quick little update.
Thank you. I got a bunch of questions. I want to pay the teachers a bunch of money, David.
That's my hope too.
I was talking to Dr. Rivera about this, and some districts are kind of exploring. I know we've talked about kind of the traditional way of doing it is just starting pay gets increased and then you adjust for compression for everybody else, right? But is there maybe a model that we could explore that we don't necessarily mess with the starting pay of new teachers, but we increase more at 5, 10-year teachers? You know what I mean? So most of our money's going to our experienced teachers, the ones that have been here longer, and maybe a $500 increase 1 through 5, $3,000 increase 5 through 10, and so forth and so on.
A sliding scale.
Yeah.
Right.
Not a stipend, but an increase.
No, salary. Yeah.
Salary increase.
And so it's like almost like longevity pay, right? I mean, if you stay here for that long, you could look forward to getting that big bump at that kind of milestone.
I see you walking with that pencil there, David.
So what I'll do, I will talk with HR so that we could get TASB to provide us some models of that scenario.
I mean, and that's just one idea. I don't know what else. Give us options.
Yeah, I agree with Trustee Castillo, because if you look at the scale and you look at the increases and and what it sets, it's just not there. I mean, it just it's very small increases per year, plus depending on if you forget to step and then you go with a percentage pay increase. Mm-hmm. But even then at that point, so yeah, I agree. Like that sounds really good, like a sliding scale, but you're going up like 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, etc. And then of course you're paying more, but you're getting expertise and you're getting performance back too. So
I will work with HR to get that sliding scale as an option.
Along those lines, let's not ever forget that we have another group of people that work for us, our paraprofessionals,
Right.
and our people that work in maintenance and so forth, that also have to deal with cost of living expenses. So never forget that, everyone in this school district is important to us. So.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee. You always bring that up, and that's good.
And after all those great notes, is it sustainable? Because one of the things, and I brought this up in private, but one of the things too is that we need to realize we're like in a real touchy area. I'm gonna be very blunt here as far as how we're gonna come out, because you have ESSER that's gonna end in spring of '24. I don't know. People ask me and I tell them, well, we heard there was a problem because they saw the Monitor article, right? And I said, well, we technically have a problem, but we don't. We have staffing levels at the level that they should be in accordance with enrollment. The only trouble we have is ADA. And that's an issue between us communicating with parents and bringing in kids. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, it's can we sustain? Can we sustain? And once ESSER funds are gone, we're gonna see a lot of additional costs. We'll truly see how our medical plans are performing. You won't have those extra rebates. There's gonna be a lot of different components coming into place that now it's like, this is what you're really paying and this is how you're really sustaining yourself. These are your real bills and this is your real income. If that was the case right now and there was no ESSER, where would it be?
Yeah.
Right? Most people don't realize that. They don't realize that ESSER is sustaining us from a huge cliff right now. Okay, we're teetering on it. So I agree as well too, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad news or anything like that, but somebody asked me the other day, because they kind of heard my comment, and they said, well, are you against raises? I said, no, I'm not against raises, and I'm definitely against us losing staff. And I don't want to give a raise, but yet people are gonna see their neighbors or their family members or et cetera be cut and lose their jobs and lose it the way, and you already seen one district announce that they're gonna release hundreds of staff at the end of ESSER. We don't have that problem right now. The only thing we gotta do is talk to parents and tell them to send their kids in. That's it. So we're actually right on point. We have all the components now right in place to be financially successful and responsible. We just need now our community and those parents that aren't sending their kids in to start sending their kids into school. And we need campuses to have the freedom to talk to parents and whatnot and tell them the truth, that, hey, your child needs to come in every single day through those doors. And it's not, and I see social media say, well, it's just because they want to get money. No, it's not. It's because the most important thing in life that your child has, other than the person they have at home that loves them, is their education. That's the most important thing to anybody. We've all gone through school, we've all graduated, college, masters, doctorates, et cetera. So it's not about getting paid. That we don't want your child to come through the doors because, oh, we just want to collect or we want to get paid. It's because we want them to be successful. And they're not going to be successful being out 30, 40, 50 days out of the year. You know, that's not a failure on the school, that's a failure on the parent. And so that's the part that we need to step up in next year and really hit hard, is get kids to do what they're supposed to do, is come to school. And that's why I tell people, the model article sounds frightening, but it's really not, because I think we're right there where we need to be. So
Everything we're looking at, we're trying not to make those big changes that will affect instruction. So that's one of the key features. The other part is just making sure that we're efficient with the funds, that we are better utilizing them. And those are all the little tweaks that you see from Mr. Garlick's side, our side, those little tweaks that we're doing now in risk management, is so that we could free up those dollars again to put it back into instruction. So again, that's why we're just doing all these items. Again, with HR, we're going to be tweaking the number of staff, but it's not that we want to, in a sense, give pink slips. We just want to put them in the right spots.
Exactly.
And so, because the goal is, if we are going to do any kind of changes in that sense, the hope is that we're going to do it through attrition. And so that's why we're looking at all the different professionals, those instructional coaches, and just different areas, just to say, hey, if I make this tweak here, it's going to free up money so I could put money into something that...
And then just programs too, software, just things that...
We had a meeting with CNI, and that's the biggest thing. We know that a lot of those programs was to close the gap. They're paid through ESSER. What's going to happen next year? We have ESSER. We know that for a majority of those programs, we're going to continue. We have had 3 years to get the kids back on track. The hope is that we are on track, so that some of those programs, thank you so much, we're moving on. But there's going to be some programs that are going to be said, this is a great item. We need to find money to continue.
No, I mean, if it's something good that benefits, but there's sometimes in big organizations, right, you just get used to buying something and you just buy it to buy it. And that's one thing where we can make tweaks.
Exactly.
So we could.
And we are working with all the different content areas, looking back to what are the programs that we're utilizing. And I'm going to give a funny joke. If I have a 5th grader and I have 5 different computer programs, how much time is left for even the teacher to teach?
Exactly.
It's not. But if we focus on district initiatives and say, this is 1, maybe 2, that is going to be hitting home runs for our kids, fine, let's pay those through ESSER. Next year, we'll find the funds one way or another.
Do we want to be a mile wide but an inch deep, or an inch wide and a mile deep? You know what I mean? Exactly.
And so we had to find that perfect scenario.
I'm just going to take this time really quick, because it is piggybacking off of the whole, the teacher pay, and because we're celebrating our Teachers of the Year this week, and it's Teacher Appreciation Week, and as a former teacher, I know how appreciative teachers are of, give me resources to help my kids. That's what I need. If you want me to be happy, of course, pay me more. That's always a good thing. But also giving me the resources I need in my classroom to help my kids. I know that I shared the book with you guys last week. It's the 5 languages of appreciation and organization. And research does show that people appreciate people stay in an organization and are happier in an organization when they feel appreciated. The money has a lot to do with it, but it's not the main
only way.
thing. The top research shows the main reason why people love their jobs and keep their job and stay there and you retain people is because they feel appreciated. So yes, we show them appreciation with giving them money. Of course, nobody says no to that. But as leaders of the campuses and as administrators, it's on you guys and you, the leadership, to just, and on everybody actually, even coworkers, each other, just make each other feel appreciated, because that's really what makes the positive culture.
And homework time, acts of service, physical touch.
Hey, he read the book. All right.
I forgot the other 3 though.
Money.
Well, money.
That wasn't one. Material, something like that. Quality time. But yes, thank you so much to all the teachers and everybody who's, you guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I want to do is just not just do things because we've always done it one way. Maybe we could just be innovative with our resources and figure out a way just to get the same thing done, but differently.
Yeah.
And yes, what Trustee Guayat said, let's take care of, our employees who need us the most as well. And I guess the administrators too.
Thank you, sir.
Everybody.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you so
Perfect.
much.
We'll get on it.
All right, is that the end of our budget workshop?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so no more presenters, right?
No.
Okay, that brings us to item number 6, adjournment.
So move.
Well, can I add that we had a
Oh.
special meeting,
Right.
but
That's right.
it won't be necessary to have it.
Okay.
We took care of business and we won't need it.
Great job, Dr. Rivera, thank you.
Thank you.
It is now 8:10 PM and we are adjourned.